right. What's up, Cliff?
How's it going, man?
Good. Let me pop you in here and we'll get started in just a second.
So I need to tell you something quickly.
They can hear us on air, by the way, just so you know.
I'm sorry?
They can hear us on air, by the way, just so you know.
That's
so
okay.
don't share any intrapersonal details. I know you were going to give me your PIN earlier, so...
I was going to give you my sorority pin, it's true.
That's right, yeah.
I know, it's a heartwarming story about my son graduating from high school and going back to his elementary school where they're going to redo this run they all did when they were third graders.
That's
and
awesome.
That's about 15 minutes from here, and it's at 1 o'clock, so I have to leave at about 12:40.
Don't worry about it. We'll get you out there.
Okay.
We'll get you out the door just fine.
I don't. No, I mean, I want to be here as long as I can be, but I don't want to miss that because that's just too cool.
Of course.
And I'll go cry and remember when he was like, 6 or 7 years old and not 18.
Dude, I brought up something this weekend. I'm so nostalgic. I get melancholy for stuff that hasn't happened yet.
Yes. Me too,
it is truly it's a really lovely thing in having a kid, especially where you're just like, oh, I didn't realize like just how much this had to mean to everything in my soul.
Yep.
In these moments, you kind of
rewarding thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's nothing else like it. I mean, it doesn't mean it doesn't have its challenging moments, but there's just I've never been happier than when something good happens to them.
So while we're being adorable, let me jump in and I'll launch us off and we'll get all dilfy on the ladies. We'll be give me 1 second.
Get all dilfy on the ladies.
Yeah, it'll happen. Trust me.
I work on my dilfitude. Definitely.
You don't have to argue with me. I'm there. All right, let me jump right in and welcome everybody to the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's Hal Sparks. Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. It's going to be a great show today. I got to fade that out and just get started because and I have to see if my little guest window works. I think I have to. No, it worked right away.
Oh,
I love that. It works right away. I can't believe it. It's great stuff. Hi, everybody. So, obviously, lots to talk about, Cliff. We didn't get to see you last week. The fire hose of news. I feel like let's just do this. What was your favorite horribleness of last week?
My favorite. Wow, that's
it's tough. It's a difficult one. Yeah.
So, am I saying this in a jokey way, or saying like what was the worst freaking thing? I mean, obviously,
kind
Trump
of both.
Like,
I mean, yeah.
Trump being like, well, I mean, they're both, they're probably both Trump. I mean, there's the real side, which is Constitution. Yeah, I may follow it, I may not.
I don't know. I don't know. You have to ask my lawyer if I follow the Constitution.
Yeah, I might. And then, of course, all the losers and weenies who freaked out over, you're coming for my guns. You're coming for my guns. Are totally cool with Trump saying that because, that's
seriously.
Yeah, right. It was always about the Constitution and not your penis extension. It was always that's what
okay.
It was
so there's a couple of they're it's okay if they control women's reproductive rights, but don't come for my Viagra. I think is the big fear. So there was a big story about, for example, RFK Jr.'s Autism Database that he's starting, right? And
which doesn't sound Naziistic at all.
Not at all. And so there's there are states that are participating in it. Others have told him to fuck off. But it has spawned worries about eugenics and ways we can I guess eliminate problematic useless eaters from our electorate over time.
Yeah, right. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, totally not a concern at all. And obviously, there's all of that proof.
Yeah.
Meaning absolutely zero that vaccines have had anything to do with it.
Right. They
also,
just do not care at all. Right.
Right. You should also
do not care about it at all.
No, and you should also know clearly, as he said, the learned man that RFK Jr. is, he pointed out that that nobody who has autism can do normal things like read a book or play or whatever, which of course are the reasons why Benjamin Franklin and Leonardo da Vinci and Lionel Messi, to name a couple people, are such failures and have been such failures in life. Because
all the great mathematicians, Eddie Van Halen, like everybody, basically the essential part that what we call autism in a lot of cases. And again, we name these things. I've often said, a description is not a definition, and a definition can never convert back the other way. And what happens is a lot of times there's this floaty zone. We started medicalizing and naming a lot of things over the years, and I would argue far too much, right? You could argue that his complaint about when I was a kid, the great Gonzo, when I was a kid, we didn't have any chronic diseases. Like, yeah, because everybody just fucking died, and they weren't trying to keep people alive.
We ignored a lot of stuff. I mean,
right?
I
don't know.
We also had drunk driving, and drunk driving was acceptable too, and our roadside, fatalities were 70% higher.
You never heard of a DUI until Footloose, right? Yeah.
Right, exactly. Right. I mean, I used to roll around the back of my parents' station wagon, in the late 70s, and we've now determined along the way that probably wasn't the best idea, but we didn't know any better then. So you learn stuff as time goes on.
Yeah. Well, you hope you do, or you hope they do.
Well, you develop science, and some people. So we do learn it. It's just there are people who sometimes take power that refuse for various reasons to accept what the scientific consensus is or common sense.
So 7 states currently have an autism database, or a registry. Actually, it's not a database; it's a registry. You can opt in. It's not that, and I think that would be the difference. A registry versus a database is a different thing. Registries are something where you have to actively do something. You have to register to vote. There's not a voter database that's based on people who haven't signed up because they're not part of it. They don't have a non-voter database. They have a voter database because people have registered to vote, and therefore they create a database on that. There's a difference between the choice of it and that thing. So Delaware has one, Indiana, North Dakota, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Utah, and West Virginia, which, I mean, myriad of reasons why you can see why each of those states would do something, along those lines. New Hampshire had one. They got rid of theirs in June 2024. They repealed the autism registry and directed the Department
Aren't they
of
the
Health
live free or die state, and they're the ones doing that? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. And they purged the records. So they had the registry, and then they got rid of it. But obviously the idea that fast horses make fast racehorses, and and you can tell somebody comes from good genes and stuff. The guy who says that all the time, starting a registry of non-communicable diseases.
Right.
I don't know what the problem is.
No, I think it's really helpful for society, and we should do that. I'm sure they won't start any other registries after that for all sorts of things, like, let's say, political beliefs or other groups.
They're going to put us all in FEMA camps. I've been warning you guys about this for years. They're going to round us all up. Area 51, Agenda 21, Apartment 237.
Exactly. Right. 15,
everything,
17, the 95
literally,
theses.
I'm still trying to find, and it's difficult because he's not on the air as much as he used to be, but I'm still trying to find something that Alex Jones warned us about that the Trump administration isn't actively bragging about doing. Like, all this shit about they're gonna chip our brains, they're gonna try to do it through vaccines and all this kind of stuff, and like, here comes fucking Elon Musk.
Elon Musk has a literal company to do that, and I mean, whoever the people are that allow Elon Musk, the man of the exploding rockets and Cybertrucks whose panels are glued on and fall off, who wants to let him muck around in their brains, I wish you all the luck in the world.
Yeah. There are 5 companies working on a Neuralink type device, but his is just the one that's got the most press. And I would argue that in a lot of these cases, in kind of like LASIK, LASIK jumped to the front of the lines, but or Kleenex. It's actually, facial tissue or something like that, which sounds naughty. But the idea is that we call it Kleenex, but that's the brand name.
Right, or Band-Aids, because it's the first brand. They were the first ones there, so everybody calls it that.
Right. So
Gatorade, right? Powerade is still Gatorade.
That's right. 80-20 rule is that if you're first in the market and you're best known, and somebody's saying there's an audio issue. Is it everywhere, guys, or not? I get those all the time. There's a mix of that, but we'll work on it. But the first to get to the market will get 80% of the market, and then 20% have to everybody else to buy it. Now, obviously, that's not true because like McDonald's was the first, Ford was the first, and then there's lots of other car companies and there's lots of, but for a while anyways, you will be guaranteed a certain window. And in as fast
And you
as
can
technology
screw
is
it
moving,
up. I mean,
yes,
right? I mean, like what he's done with, I mean, just
with Tesla,
let's stick with
right?
the example of Elon Musk with Tesla and Twitter. He has found ways that both of those will be in a graveyard at some point. I mean, the Tesla brand at this is the people who don't understand this stuff. You know, is it's Enron at this point. It's Philip Morris. It's like
Yes.
the name will he will have to be fired and removed
Hmm.
completely from the company, and the name will have to be changed for it to come back. If you don't do both of those things, that company's done because the
Right.
brand damage is too much. You can't come back from that.
I have, but guys, I'm trying to chase down if there's a crackling issue. It might just be, quite frankly, just volume on my part. I'll bring my volume down and see if that affects things at all, and see if we kind of even.
I hear it every now and again with you, Hal. It's not constant, but it pops up here and there. Just
okay. Because I literally what I'm hearing couldn't be more pristine, so it's very odd. Yeah. I don't know if it might be the websites we go out on because that happens as well sometimes. That said. You know this as well as anyone, Cliff Schechter, who is like building Substack's video streaming service almost single-handedly.
Oh,
I would say
I wouldn't go quite that far, but you're very kind.
I would. I go very far. It's what I do. It hasn't fixed its digital status.
It's why you're so successful, I guess.
Right.
You go there, but
Yes.
I would say on in the streaming world, you kind of push the envelope to technical places that I am frankly scared to
do
go
I.
because people who watch me know that I don't even, I screw up plugging my mic in sometimes. So I mean, it's always an adventure with me.
Well, and guys, I'm going to do a couple of like throwing some switches every so often and see if I can fix that. Hold on. You're getting random bursts of audio static. Mic may be too hot. I say, well, yeah, I drew it down.
It is random audio static, but I haven't heard it in a little bit.
I think I might have fixed it.
Oh no, there it is.
Oh, okay, that's what it is.
Sorry.
We're overheating. It's me. I have too much power. I'm just coming in too hot.
You're just too damn hot, Hal.
It's all right.
It's a
Get
tough
used
life.
to the idea. Too hot lady. So all right. Well, I'll keep an eye out for that. Thank you guys for the heads up. I think it's because I had to burst the audio before because some of the White House audio that we were getting was just frankly ass. I don't know if you know this, but there's not only are they incapable of keeping national secrets, but their standard like quality work there, just average office work, sucks as bad as the Trump org.
Well, of course. I mean, they don't hire. I mean,
was old and all that, right?
Yeah, they've always purposely not hired people that actually know what they're doing. I mean, that's not how they work. So
those people ask questions. Eventually, those
exactly
people,
right.
Right.
And he's always done that. Trump's always done that in his businesses. He's hired half-assed people, and he's a half-assed person, and that's one of the big reasons that even places like casinos, where people literally hand you money for nothing, he's found a way to bankrupt because he can't. He's threatened by people around him that actually know what they're doing. He doesn't want those people. So, yeah, that's his particular talent.
So, speaking of a talent that is actually a lack of talent, last night they revoted again to seize the tariff, controls, the reins back from Trump. It was a 49-49 tie, and Vance had to roll in to break the tie on Trump's behalf to block the resolution on Trump's control.
Who were the two that weren't there? And I'm going to guess it's only Collins and Murkowski who voted with us.
Let's see. Two senators voted for the. McConnell was there. Sheldon Whitehouse is not there. He's out. He would have voted for it, but he's out for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. And Mitch McConnell was there.
That sucks because.
Yeah, both of them. The issue is both of them would have voted for it. I think McConnell's just ill and on the down low. Yeah,
I agree. I think he's about
Whitehouse,
done.
sorry,
But
Whitehouse
also hasn't
in South Korea. He's in South Korea. Oh. That's why. It's one of the reasons why they called the vote when they did.
Of course, they play those games. But why? Why isn't? I mean, I know the guy has been all talk his entire life, but Rand Paul seemed pretty worked up about the tariffs and was saying all this stuff.
Yeah.
How horrible they are.
Yeah.
Where the hell is he? If he actually means any of that, where is he? voting to allow Trump to continue. So yeah,
Well,
it's all
yeah,
crap.
right. Yeah, it meant it. Well, ultimately, I don't know if he was one of the. I guess not. What are we, 47 in there? So we had
Oh,
to
that's true.
have
Well,
at least.
they should have 53. Two voted
Mhm.
against. So then there would be two that were there two that weren't there. Were
Yeah,
there?
I'm looking it
I
up
don't know.
right now. But Paul might be one of the people who voted against it. But then he also, there's an element of like spoiler count that they always, you know, like he votes against everything because he doesn't believe these things should exist. Like it's just
Well,
evil.
yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily for the right reasons. It's
No,
just he's a fool. But if he's a fool that helps us defeat something that is fascistic, which it
right.
is, because Trump based this on emergency powers, which is something you use in wartime. And again, we're not in a war, except for if you want to say we are in a cyber war, at least with Russia, a hybrid war, and that's a country that Trump actually sides with. So,
Yes.
in that case, that wouldn't be an excuse either.
No. And I guess the issue is that if they keep bringing it up for a vote over the next little bit, it's at some point it's going to pass because they do have the votes. It's just a matter of getting them in the room.
The problem is, though, is then you need um, Mike Johnson to be willing either a discharge petition in the House or Mike Johnson, that little wimp weenie,
Right. Yeah.
weakest. I mean, guy who just
Hmm.
be who you are. I'll put it that way, Mike.
Yeah. Right.
Um,
You and Lindsay
and
need to just
save save
start a
all of
drum
us.
circle.
Right. Save all of us the overcompensation you do by being a Christian, supposedly. And in any
Hmm.
case, that's the thing, is we'd have to get it through the House. So either enough Republicans would have to join with us, and there should be theoretically enough, but they're cowards. I mean, there's 6 to 12 of them who routinely, when their votes don't matter,
Hmm.
are there to vote against Trump. Only when their votes matter are they not there.
Right.
And a bunch of them even a few of them have spoken out. So the votes should be there to take that away from him, but they'll conveniently not be there, or vote the wrong way and say, I don't know, I hit the wrong button. God knows, who knows what they'll
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Well, and again, maybe the consistency part of it is like I vote against it all the time. You're like, so it almost gives them a pass to like, I
Yep.
just don't think the tariff power should be in the presidency ever, ever, ever. And so some of them are using that as as a protection line for themselves. I don't know how well it will work with MAGA, right? But ultimately, but apparently, did you see MTG's little diatribe?
Which one?
Her
I've seen a bunch.
Well, she typed out this list of like, I didn't sign up for this. This is not about, America, freedom, blah, blah, blah. But she was like, basically, uh, obviously, all the concerns we have about too much power being in the White House, but she just couches it in. I want President Trump to be able to do anything. I'm worried that the deep state will control him if he has too much
I
power.
want to
And
take
I don't want to go.
power away from President Trump so that President Trump can be more successful. I don't like him having all that power right there in the White House, and that's why I'd like to take it away from him, and so he can do his job better.
That's right.
She'll say some stupid shit like that.
Yeah, it's you've got to like kiss his ass while criticizing him at the same time. It's just they have to give him a rusty trombone, and the
You sure it's not a dirty Sanchez or no?
Turkish breakfast. We're gonna make people look these up now.
Yeah, I know. Maybe we should.
Stop
So
while we're
tempted, but I'm gonna
behind.
stop. I'm gonna stop myself.
So
Okay.
this is the like I don't know the tariff stuff is one horrible package. The announcement today, and I got off on a fucking rant this morning online with these motherfuckers at like the uncommitted crowd and all those people. People are. It's no surprise how I feel about these sons of bitches. But there's an article in the Daily Beast now that that Israel's just gonna roll in and take over Gaza and bump everybody out. I'll find it. Israel votes. Yeah, this is the actual article that I saw today. I'll show you this real quick. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Israel votes to capture all of Gaza and occupy it indefinitely. Nice going, guys. All the
the population up in particularly Michigan, the 30-something% that voted for Jill Stein because of Russian disinformation and just bought it hook, line, and sinker, and
Jesus.
that that whatever percent, 20 something, 30 something percent that believed Donald Trump, a man who showed with every ounce of his
Called
being
them a
that he couldn't give
cancer.
two
Called them a
two
cancer.
craps about you. I mean,
Yeah.
it's incredible, and you still see it. Like, it was amazing, the free Palestine, at least they were calling themselves that. People
Right.
were protesting Bernie Sanders.
Right.
What Bernie Sanders, I think, has been with them on most things. What
Yeah.
like it's amazing how they never actually protest the
Yeah.
people who are bad,
Well,
who are causing the trouble.
that is exactly the point, because ultimately, what are we talking about here? They would all stand in front of, like, they went to the DNC, they were taking over college campuses, all areas where the question of like a two-state solution was there was a nest for that for a long time, and then here they come, like Netanyahu rolls in, meets with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, secret meeting before the election, where they're obviously discussing, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and what happens? Not a one of them, none of them around, none of them protesting.
No,
a
you wouldn't want to
Trump
protest
rally.
that.
Never.
Right.
And he's literally in there calling him a cancer. Like, every Democrat who's up there is literally seems to happen when someone's say, when you move your face away from the center of the mic. Oh, okay. I don't know. It's trying to compensate for my wailing and
Really?
yeah. The Hassan
Get your
Piker
face in
crowd.
there, Hal.
Yeah. The
Hal,
Hassan Piker
stop
crowd, clearly. But yeah, and
stop
the Jimmy
being
Dore
so
crowd.
reticent, Hal, and get your face in there, okay?
Yeah,
Just
I
get
know.
right
I
in
don't know
there.
what's wrong with me. And my mic is further away, so it might be trying to compensate as well. But all the people who, like, they would only protest where people already care about the issue, and they never went to places where they were like, they despised and dehumanized the Palestinians actively. Trump rallies, Mar-a-Lago when Netanyahu was there, all that.
I mean, people will understand at some point down the line that, I'm not saying all, but a lot of these folks or whatever, it is the same Russian disinformation, the same Russian sort of, inspired talking points, and a lot of the same kind of crap as MAGA is. They've done it to separate the left. It hasn't been, realistic. People that want to find an agreement, that want to save Palestinian lives, and also actually want to save Jewish lives, who think that war there inevitably is horrific. What happened on October 7th was horrific. Bombing children is horrific. Netanyahu is a war criminal. But Hamas are subhuman. You can believe all of that at the same time and want to come to a solution that saves the most lives, or you can just yell empty "Free Palestine" slogans like those guys do at Democrats at things and solve nothing, but undermine Democrats enough so you can keep the people that really do want to commit genocide against them in office, and that would be Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not, again, there, you could make an argument, I suppose, if you were naive and in the 90s, about some sort of lesser of two evils shit between these folks, right? Okay, now I'm going to bring myself back up. Hopefully I won't pop. I'm working on it piece by piece, kids. That there would be some level of like, all right, I believe the neocon shit or whatever. Like, you could be deluded early in the 90s without all the information we have available to us. But it wasn't even the lack of information. The information was so out there and was so obvious. And Trump was so brutal in his discussions about it and his joking about Trump Gaza and all that kind of stuff. He did that during the campaign. So if you thought there was a lesser of two evils, you were either willfully ignorant, you were avoiding anything that would pop your balloon of a fucking head, or you were actively working for this. Because that's the other thing I've come to, is that uncommitted or in the funding behind it, any of the, like, Arabs for Trump, that kind of stuff, had to have been funded by Netanyahu and the Likud and other folks like that, because
I have no
makes
doubt
sense.
that them or Russia and or these various groups, what they've done is the funding, a lot of it they've placed on certain campuses. I'm sure there were operatives among them, and they used every bit of their disinformation arsenal to radicalize as many students and other people as possible around not actually solving the problem, but a bullshit narrative and stupid tactics to exacerbate the problem and to give more power to people that are just like, let's nuke the whole place.
Right. And the variation between these two like groups, like I always think of that Monty Python sketch where Hitler's staying in a bed and breakfast in and he's running in the Taunton by-elections in this like rotten borough in England or whatever, and he's got all of his guys starting their own like shitty beer hall push around him, you know. Mr. Hilter, he say that Taunton is actually part of Minehead already. You know, like this. And right? The whole concept.
They did a good. Go ahead.
Yeah. So sorry, I'm trying to bring myself up, kids, so that whoops, hold on, let's do this so that I can sneak back up without popping too much. There we go. Check. There we go. All right, we're getting there. I'm working it. We're okay. But this idea that even if you start an organization, and I think this is the thing we can help with, and I'm sure you've dealt with this with organizations over time, is that anytime, especially if you're trying to be inclusive, inclusivity is both your strength and your weakness. Diversity is your strength and your weakness, right? Equity, everybody's opinion is
it's all how
equal.
you do it. Yep.
Right. And you have to set guide rails to what we're all talking about so that the meeting can go well, so it doesn't diverge into like little fighting fiefdoms and that kind of stuff. And that's what breaks down
anybody
most
who's ever been on a
progressive
conference
groups.
call should understand this.
Yes, right. Exactly. So the thing you have to do is go, all right, we have a goal here for, let's say the two-state solution at the time. And there were a bunch of people where they were like, yeah, I'm for that. Okay, well, what do you mean when you say that? Because as of 2005, when the Jews left and they took their graves and everybody left, that occupation ended, and Hamas took over. The two-state solution from the Hamas point of view, and I was like really ruminating about this over the weekend because I've talked back and forth with a bunch of people about it, is that I had always been for a two-state solution because I think it means the same thing to all of us. We're all talking about the same thing when we meant a two-state solution. What Hamas's version of the two-state solution meant was no Jews at all. It meant a Jew-free zone, which is not exactly, I don't think, something people would cop to as part of the two-state solution. I think the Palestinians deserve their own state, which means zero Jews, right? That kind of thing. Like, I don't think anybody would jump to that. And if they did, you'd be like, what the fuck's up with you, bro? Like, if a Jewish person falls in love with a Palestinian and they live there, maybe they don't get voting rights right away because people are nervous, but they certainly should be able to live there in peace. That would be the idea.
We don't have this to turn into like a Romeo and Juliet thing.
Exactly,
right. Actually.
Yeah, it should be actually possible, And I think most of us thought of it that way for the longest time. And until Hamas took over, that's what it was. And then they designed their,
when they were elected in Gaza, which was what, 2015, 16? When
their version of the
clear.
Everybody out, right? So, again, that is something that was a point that never came up in the conversation about the two-state solution since then, and has made it kind of this Gordian knot ever since, that people don't cross into that line. Because I think two states with two equal voting ability and kind of international communities, and you could come and go as you please, and what's the worst? It's sort of like Gaza and the West Bank would be like the Palestinian version of Saudi Arabia or Jordan. Like, they, you know what I mean? People can, Jews can live in Jordan. They just choose not to because it's not particularly safe, right? But it's still, they still can, is the idea.
You have the ability is what's important, right?
So there's that hard line, and so with that hard line made the conversation very difficult. And the problem I had was a bunch of people acting like the conversation wasn't difficult anymore. They were like, it's black and it's white. Until it came to Trump Harris. And white,
are there things that there's very simple, straightforward, black and white, like sex trafficking, very black and white. No,
right.
You can't. You're evil. Fuck you.
Right.
That's
why we hate crypto.
There are some pretty simple things. Slavery.
Right.
Evil. Fuck you. But most things in life require some level of nuance. And again, if you know the history, if you aren't aware of the deals that were put in front of Arafat and Abbas that they rejected, with Arafat apparently saying he was scared to accept it because he was scared he would lose his life, and and my response to that is, well, it's like when I hear these Republican members of Congress who are like, well, I'm scared violence will come to my family or whatever.
Yeah.
My answer
And they're
is,
not
then
wrong.
leave.
They're not wrong.
They're not wrong, but that's the gig. You took the
Yeah.
gig. If you
Yeah.
want the power, I mean, Michael Collins, that's how it ended up. Martin Luther King, that's how it ended up. But they were willing to give their lives for what they believed in. And I'm sorry, like at some level, if you're Yasser Arafat and you're not willing to take that risk, Sadat took that risk, Rabin took that risk, and they both lost their lives for being for peace. If you're not willing to do that, move aside and let a leader step forward who is willing to do that. And that just always gets me, because we could have had that deal with Arafat, and it would have just been, in any case, you have to know that history and understand that before you go and you mouth off on these things.
Exactly. Or you try to draw a black and white line in and amongst that. And they never do when the argument starts. Once you push past a single boundary in the argument that's currently in front of it, like Jews bad, Israel bad, Palestine good, Palestinians good. Like once you get past that line with them where you're like, there are humans on both sides of this, and they have both done wrong, and the solution to this is not going to be easy no matter how it happens, and you have to be willing to engage in that complexity, or you get someone like Trump just bulldozing. And that's where I think a lot of these folks just got into like swipe right mentality and are over it. They don't really give a fuck about the Palestinians at all. They never did, but they it was a nice T-shirt to wear.
Of course not.
Along with their Shea shirt and their or just like those dudes who wear Anarchy shirts that they bought at Hot Topic. There is nothing more ironic than a pre-printed Anarchy T-shirt, right? That's just for the record.
I'm sorry, I still love Kid, and again, no offense to those who know and get it, but you as a nerd Halen kind of guy, the kind of music you like, I do enjoy kids these days who are like, they'll be wearing like, a Nirvana shirt or something because it's cool, and have no idea who Nirvana was. It's kind of like the Anarchy. I don't know. It feels a little bit like you're just branding.
Anarchy.
You're going for branding here. You're not.
Anarchy is the libertarianism before there was a financial sector. It's really,
very good. That's well put. Actually, right.
I just, that's off the top of the dome right now, but I don't think I've ever summed it up better, because that's exactly what it fucking
often
is.
would also say, when people would call Rand Paul a libertarian, and I'd point out he was okay with banning abortion on the state level, with banning gay marriage on the state level. So I was like, no, he's not.
No,
he's what you call him a states' rights isolationist, is what he is. He doesn't want to go to war for anybody or anything, because screw everybody. And he believes in states' rights, which has a pretty bad history, if you want to know the truth.
Especially
history books
from halfway through Kentucky on down.
Yes, if your argument is that the states' rights should determine things, well, there are certain things like water fountains that states' rights once determined, and that was bad. So no, it doesn't get to determine abortion or gay rights or anything either. And if you say that, you are not a libertarian. You're a states' rightser. You're full of shit. You're George Wallace. All right,
yes.
Stop.
I would also argue that in Kentucky there was a period of time where some folks actually sided with the Southern idea that they should be able to deny people bathrooms and water fountains and stuff like that. And in Kentucky, their neighbor kicked their ass. I'm not saying there's a parallel, but it's like, I guess those who don't understand history are doomed to repeat it. And Rand Paul lived it, I guess.
And sadly, that's most of these folks. Because again, I brought up Michael Collins before. Came up with the best deal he possibly could, and his own people killed him, 100+ years ago. And but eventually, I'm not saying it's perfect, but eventually you either want the war to keep going on in Northern Ireland or you don't. And you find a way. You can't, if you're black and white about it, you won't come to a solution. If you accept wrongs have been done and there's nuance and it's not perfect, same with Algeria and France, we can go on and on in these kinds of cases. And this one just happens to be playing out today with other countries that manipulate people, with social media existing, and that's made it all the much more difficult.
Right. Somebody throw in, by the way, I see these often fly by in the chat room, and they pop up things like religion is bad or whatever, and I'm like, you're really going to run aground here, folks, on my show, and probably with the way Cliff thinks, if you're using vast platitudes that are all encompassing like that, like all something are this, or everyone who does this. You're going to run aground in that situation unless you're picking and choosing a specific group with a specific, like maggots in general. I say that word to distinguish them from all Republicans so that I can give some Republicans an
I do too,
off-ramp,
because
either to come back to normalcy or to fuck off entirely. But I don't count them as the people who are going to be that Trump 28% base, right? Right.
That's what I'm saying. There's that strong base of just cultists. There's a lot of other people that, again, let themselves be fooled or let themselves, buy into, oh, he's going to cut my taxes or, various stupid reasons. And some of them are winnable, and you can't write them all off because guess what? We didn't win the last time. So, and we are winning most of the elections or overperforming right now. And that's because a lot of them have joined us. So you have to want them to join you to get to that point where but generally, again, I've said this to people, like, to go back to, I keep going back to things I've said earlier. Martin Luther King preached religion. A lot of what he came from the social gospel. The New Testament has a hell of a lot of stuff in there that is, have a talk with John Fugel saying sometime that, is most of what's in there is the kind of stuff we all believe. It's just the current Christian right that took over religion in the late 70s, the Falwell types, ignore all of that because they're greedy, corrupt fucks who don't actually believe anything that's in there. I'll say quickly, I went to an Episcopalian school in New York City, in Greenwich Village, for 10 years. 20% plus 25% of the class was Jewish. We had a number of black students, and I'm going to tell you this: when I was in single digits, I went there, up to 8th grade, so up to about 12, 13, and I was there. So some of those years were in the 70s, when New York is not what you're thinking, folks. It was a segregated town where schools were segregated, and yet I was going to school because this was a progressive-minded school that taught the social gospel alongside black students, which I thought was completely normal. So that was the way I grew up. My best friend was black. There are a lot of folks that couldn't say they had a close friend who was black, who were white, going to American schools in the late 70s. And to me, that was just normal. Like, my parents, who were liberal, were shocked in a good way. They were like, this is great. But they were shocked that it was happening.
It was even possible.
Because it was, that's what they were shocked by, that it was even possible. So, and that was a religious institution. So you do have to understand that too.
I'll make it easier, and more direct, I think. The entire abolitionist movement in the United States was driven by Christians. Now, you can argue that that slaveholders wanted and cajoled their preachers to preach elements of the Old Testament that promoted slavery as a thing, but the new covenant of Jesus Christ, which was the idea was, hey guys, this is the new operating system. The old operating system is now defunct. We are no longer servicing a Windows 11. We are now, or Windows 10, right? Anymore. We're no longer doing it.
We're not Windows flooding 11. The earth anymore to kill you for your sins.
That's right.
We're actually helping lepers.
It's going to get more complicated. It's going to get a lot more personal. And that was the point of Christianity as the thing. And that's why, and the idea of like religion as an idea, again, the word religion comes from the word, sort of like the same root as the Italian word religio, which means to bind back, to secure you. The idea that you could be separate from God and you're in your sinful nature, you'll go running off and, do awful shit. So you need to be like tied like to a whipping post to get back to God. That's where the word religion comes from. Religions, interestingly enough, Trump says, we're bringing back religion. We're bringing back religion. He fucking means it. That's actually, I would argue that is the best use of that word anywhere, because most churches don't call themselves religions in the abstract.
They don't say that word. Right.
All right. Religion is an external word.
I'm going to have to.
You got to go.
This is a great conversation.
It is.
I got to go. Yep.
You're awesome. When's your streams? Tell everybody your daily streams.
Yes.
And
so 2 p.m. I'm doing it again tomorrow. I don't know, but Wednesday and Thursday on StreamYard. Just go to at Cliff_Schechter at YouTube. And then Thursday, I have my Amped Up with Cliff Schechter show that is on Substack every Thursday, 2 p.m. I host it with David Schuster. You may remember him, good liberal Emmy Award-winning anchor. And maybe we'll get Hal to come on this week. We'll see.
I insist. All right. Love you, brother. Be well. Have
Thanks
fun.
For having
Go
me
do
on,
father
buddy.
stuff. It's awesome. Absolutely. And Cliff Schechter, Cliff's Edge on Patreon as well. Okay, bye.
Bye.
You go. And I think Tara will be along in just one moment. We'll make sure she's got to make sure my screens are up so that I can bring her in where'er she might be. There it is. Okay. So when she's ready to pop in, I'll have her up and running. If we're good, I'm checking staff chat just to make sure. Somebody and you guys can go read on my Blue Sky the back and forth I've had with a couple of these posers. And I will say posers. Like I used to tap dance around the idea that maybe they're not bots, maybe they're people who are just, and try to coax them back over. But the difference was so goddamn stark that I can't excuse it anymore. It makes no fucking sense to me. Right? It literally, I don't get it. Okay, everything sounds a little better. Good. No static now that Al had the amulet. It's my Luke amulet, for my may the force be with you. It's actually the Celtic god Luke, but whatever. I just thought it was kind of a nice extra thing. Oh, here comes Tara. Dun, 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 and I'll bring her in just 1 second. Hi, Tara Dublin. You and do rock.
Hi. You summoned me early, so I decided to show early.
Oh, I appreciate that because we can always use more Tara. I'm just saying. Now I'm going to bring in. Hi, everybody. Tara Dublin.
Extreme close up. We don't need to be that close. It's
all
early.
right.
It's early. It's Monday.
You're
Jeez.
fine. Tara. So, and you sound fantastic on your microphone. It's just lovely.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really should start charging people for AMS.
I know, absolutely. Just you just.
What do you want me to say, guys?
Crinkling tinfoil and opening walnuts and stuff like that. I was inspired
chewing
by our conversation. Yes, chewing ice, right? My mom always used to warn me about the old ladies chewing ice
it's bad for your
at
teeth.
the pool. Well, no, at the pool it meant they were horny. Old ladies chew ice when they're horny.
Ew, really?
Yeah, and she was like, "They're looking at you."
No.
Yep. Well, you're not old yet, so maybe not yet. But
hey, I just turned 56. I turned 56 last week.
Yeah, you're a year older than me. We're not old. Nah.
Okay, it's Gen X.
Yeah,
Gen X AF. All right. Hey,
yeah,
Hal.
right.
Hi.
So,
Hi.
I was all over the place with this. There's plenty of stuff to discuss. Dear Lord.
There's so much I want to say today, and so many things we saw over the weekend, and things that have happened, and the triggering. The triggering is intensifying in the MAGA cult. It's so,
my God.
So triggered.
Yeah.
Oh, it's delightful.
So
yes.
the Pope picture backfired. Trump's whole they can have $2 if they want to or whatever is. Holy shit, that'll go great.
Hey, I'm gonna go get the papers. Get the papers.
Hey.
Donnie $2.
Donnie $2.
Hey.
Donnie, or as I like to call him, Donnie Smooth in the front.
Donnie 3-card Monty. Hey, don't take your eyes off of him. Hey, it could be anywhere. Yeah, see, here's what I've enjoyed over this weekend is more engagement on my Twitter than ever because I triggered MAGA twice. And yes, you're not on Twitter. I'm on Twitter because I'm still watching shit over there. I'm not paying for it. They're not. They want my money so much. They keep telling me I would do better if I paid them. I'm not going to do that. But again, don't let Nazis run me out. And that's my take. And so first they generate the AI of Donnie Fuckmouth as the Pope. And the same guy who fell asleep with his mouth wide open, collecting flies while shitting his pants. Weird how Joe Biden managed to stay awake for the whole funeral, but that's besides the point.
Sleepy Joe's wide awake during the whole thing. I'm looking forward to him being on The View soon. He's coming back. He's apparently going to make a visit to The View soon, which will be lovely.
Man, that'll be great. Okay, so they generate this image of Trump as the Pope, and for me, I tweeted it saying, I'm an atheist, and this offends me. Yeah, it's not that it's not that. It's not that it's a religious thing that's offensive. It's the straightforward hypocrisy, right? It's not blasphemy. It's hypocrisy because that man has no morals whatsoever, and so to compare him to Pope Francis, who's a loving person who, still a member of the Catholic Church, which I don't, I'm not a religious person. I am an atheist, but still the Pope does garner proper respect. And Trump does not. Trump doesn't deserve any respect. He shits all over everything that is good and right about our country and the world. So, for them, it's the hypocrisy. And it's the hypocrisy for me. And so what I did was I generated an AI image of Barack Obama as the Pope. Because
Yeah.
You know, if we're just joking around, right?
Yeah,
We're just
what's the
joking
big deal?
around. We're just grokking here, right? It's no big.
Mm-hmm.
So I made that and I tweeted, so we're right, we're all fine with this too, right? You know, MAGA's
Mm-hmm.
fine with this. Both of those tweets combined have
Yeah.
gotten me over 10 million views, which, if that was for my book, awesome, right?
Yeah.
It'd be awesome if I got a fraction of that for The Sound of Settling, a rock and roll love story available now at TaraDublinRocks.com. But that is not what happened. What happened was it really was like a microcosm of what everything MAGA is over the last couple of days, and I have been very entertained by the response, because there is nothing they can say to me that will intimidate me. I'm not scared of them. I'm not upset by them. They use the insults. They move the goalposts.
Sure.
They do the whataboutism. It's blah, blah, blah. It's just hilarious how easily triggered this
Yeah, they're pretty
was.
delicate.
So I understand that there's a fine line here for some. For others, it's just like, let's fuck around with the AI and see what happens. And I wasn't the only person who generated an AI image of Barack Obama. Plenty of other people did it. But boy, they don't like to see a black man dressed like the Pope. So, you know, it was just me showing you're a bunch of fucking hypocrites, or Trumpocrats, as
one
I
of the
like
things
to call them. And it's just like, keep boosting me. And it's all these dudes. It's been a sausage fest in my mentions, because they really don't like it when they can't bully a woman.
Well, that's what Twitter is these days. I mean, I'm sure there's a Karen contingent,
so
but that's all there is. But I would, but yeah, Biden will be on The View on May 8th. Thanks for that, Dave.
On May 8th, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't have live television, and I have not watched The View in forever and ever, but I will watch the clips.
You'll be able to see the pieces of it. But
I'm sure it'll be delightful.
Speaking, and I would argue in terms of the Catholic Church, I was just, I basically said it's like we got, Trump would be the next Ratzinger. Maybe Nazism skips a generation in the popes, right? Biden could be Pope because he's a baptized Catholic in good standing, right? And he's, I don't know if he'd have to get a divorce, but that would make him not a Catholic anymore. So I don't know how that works. But
it wouldn't work. Yeah. By the way, you kind of have to rise in the church to be Pope. It's not like president where you can just show up from a reality show. They don't know that though, right? Yeah. They don't because they're just a bunch of fucking idiots.
Of course.
But I would contend that Joe Biden would be a better Pope just for the basic fact that he goes to church every Sunday for his entire life,
right? And actually Trump cares about people.
Bible,
right?
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine.
So there are a couple of things. Obviously, Trump ordering. I like the whole Alcatraz thing. I think it's
Halcatraz. Very clever. You're very clever. I appreciate the clever. I love.
Yeah, you know what I do.
I love clever wordplay.
But
love when the smart kids get together.
But I would argue that this is another laser pointer distraction kind of thing. But it also has a secondary thing, which is this. What they're attempting to do with Kilmar Abrego Garcia and others, which is make them on the side of law and order to push back on the fact that Trump's a fraud and all these other things, to basically hide behind this wall of imaginary murderers. And we're tough on those folks. And you guys just want them released into the public, right? That is part of this Alcatraz conversation. And don't forget that for a second, is that they don't even want us to open up Alcatraz because we got all these killers running around in here. Where are we supposed to put them? Like, I don't know, in the supermax prisons you can't get out of in the middle of the fucking desert. Why?
Right.
Yeah, right. Do you want to not?
Guantanamo?
Why does Donald Trump want to give murderers a better view? They get a lovely view of the bay.
Maybe because the waters around Alcatraz are infested with sharks, and he's obsessed with sharks and the terror of that. Where does he get Alcatraz? Did he watch Escape from Alcatraz over the weekend? Did he watch
His son
Shutter
brought
Island?
it up.
What
Don
happened?
Jr. brought it up, and then somebody else posted it on.
It's stupid how they just. Someone says Alcatraz, and 2 seconds later, they're like, let's reopen Alcatraz. It's a fucking national park. You go and take tours of it now. It's like a museum.
And they can't. They're not.
It's not a thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
No, and they're not
going
to.
Like
it would cost.
It's not going to be on Mount Rushmore.
It would cost $350 million to turn it back into a prison. It would be cheaper to build a brand new prison the same size in the middle of fucking Death Valley or wherever there's a bunch of land. Sure. What the fuck are you talking about? Or to expand 4 other ones. It's just dumb. Like it's just what it is though,
It's
and
Gulf
that's why.
of America dumb.
Yes,
Gulf of
but
America, let's invade and change the name of Greenland dumb.
But so the optics of this, the goal of the optics, whether they're working or not, we'll discuss later. But the obvious goal of the optics is to put Democrats on the side of criminals and to put, not protecting due process, but literally on the side of murderers, right? That's what he's been trying to do in all these stupid interviews. And he's shitting the bed, right? Olga just got your book, by the way. Your book is here. Got it. Yay.
Yay, Olga. Thank you so much.
So this,
hey, Olga, wait 1 second. Olga, if you could DM me somewhere your address, I will send you an autographed book plate.
Aw. So
and also follow you back if I'm not following you. So just drop me a line. Probably the easiest place to DM me would be on Blue Sky or Instagram.
Okay. So Trump is going to take credit. Okay, this is the other thing too. Is Trump's like, I don't care about inflation. I don't care about tariffs. The energy costs are going down thanks to me. Drill, baby, drill. Okay, first of all, we're not drilling any more than we already are. We're at max capacity. And even if you started drilling, you wouldn't start pumping from those things for months, if not years. And so the idea that it's affecting today's oil price is just fucking dumb. It's baseline business. It's ignorant nonsense. Oil prices slumped today because OPEC Plus just announced a sharp increase in production while Asian stocks traded water. The output increase of 411,000 barrels a day announced by Saudi Arabia, Russia, and 6 other members of the oil cartel on Saturday added to concerns about oversupply. That was my favorite word in the whole fucking thing. Oversupply, ladies and gentlemen.
Tell the kids what it means, Hal.
It means we have more oil than we need. And that means the price is going to cadaver, which, by the way, if you're going to do drill, baby, drill, if you're going to do research and development, where the fuck do you think you get the money to do that? You get that from profits. You get it from the extra money that it doesn't cost you. It takes you $50 to get the oil out of the ground. So if it's 55, lets you pay your employees. 60 allows you to start looking for other oil. Now, last year, I said, you guys will recall, please back me up, chat room. I said there's going to be an oil glut starting in the fall because...
Oh, I totally remember you saying stuff like that.
Yes, because they can't hold off. They were artificially holding back production to fuck with Joe Biden and to help Trump ultimately, but they can only do it for so long. And then ultimately, that paired with the Chinese market starting to dwindle, but the cost of the oil was also contributing to China's decline, that market was going to fucking vanish. And everybody fucking knows it. There's going to be cheap gas fucking everywhere. And Trump's going to beat his chest, cheap gas, cheap gas, cheap gas. And he's going to say that's the excuse and that he did it. Has fucking nothing to do with anything he did. They held back as long as they could, and then they released it. And because other countries have already dropped it and gone, that are in OPEC Plus, said we can't wait any longer. We can't stop selling. We got to pump as much as we can right now, and we're beating the market in this. If Trump released the sanctions on Russia, you're going to see a glut of oil approaching the dire straits of the middle of COVID, where oil will just drop to where it's too cheap to produce, where like they can't, there's enough of it sitting around where pumping any of it doesn't make any sense. You got to shut down wells, which those, once they're shut down, they're gone for good. You either got to poke a new hole, or you've got to do a slant drill into the old one. But once they're done, they're fucking done. And Trump is like, I'm going to open up Alaska and we're going to be so fucking rich. Nobody needs the oil anymore, motherfucker. Everybody's
Such
going.
A moron.
Oh God. And did you see?
Wait, we could have had a 2-level luxury spa, Hal. Wait a minute. I was excited about the bi-level luxury spa in the middle of that article.
Oh yes, no, that's
if you don't
different.
want to sit up there where people are peeing, you can sit down there where people are peeing.
Ew.
Okay.
So here's how much Cybertrucks have depreciated since they were new. Now these were going to be
Space Pintos.
Pintos. Yeah, the Space Pinto. It's great. I like Space Pinto. That's great.
Thank you very much.
These were supposed to go up in value. I'll remind you. They were supposed to have crypto value when they came out because there were only a few of them, right?
No,
okay.
That's not how cars work. Cars lose value the second you drive them off the lot. That's the fact. Your car immediately loses value the second you get in it and leave the dealership. It is now not worth what it was.
Reporting from Consumer Reports is kind of things about the value of the cars. We reported in 2024 that the overall Cybertruck depreciation curve is really quite poor. Now, Car Gurus is showing even more of a drop in the past year, from April 28th, 2024 to April 29th, 2025, which is the day of writing of this article. In that time, Cybertruck prices went from look at this, went from $168,000 down to $84,000, a 50% decline. Past 30 days have seen a 5.51. So not great. Not great. I don't know how to read that. Is it so not great or so not great?
So not great.
So not great, guys.
It's like so not great. Like totally so not great. Like to the max for sure.
Pintos held their value longer. I'm not kidding.
Seriously.
Pintos.
As did the AMC Gremlin, I would also.
Oh, the Gremlin.
Who doesn't?
The pregnant skateboard.
The Gremlin.
Who didn't love the Gremlin? Yeah.
I mean, come on, Wayne's World. But what we're saying is that Elon is a bad businessman, is what we're saying in all of this. Just like Trump, he cannot. He is not a successful businessman. We have spoken of this extensively. Born between third base and home, and just doesn't build anything, doesn't invent anything, doesn't create anything, just throws money at things and then claims it was all because of him. And if it fails, it's somebody else's fault. But if it's a success, then it's all because of him. Who does that sound like? I don't know who to compare it to.
Can I show you something funny? Can I show you something really funny?
Yes, please. I love when you show me things.
Okay, all right. So right at the same time, the Cybertruck is taking a giant shit. Okay. Chinese pickup looks like a Cybertruck and a Hummer had a one-night stand. This is their Cybertruck. This is the Chinese Cybertruck. That they just.
Why do you need that? Why does anybody need that?
No, nobody. But the point is.
There's a spa again.
Oh yeah, there's always selling that. But the important thing is that they have been taking the BYD sedans are the Tesla Model 2, just copied. They just fucking. It's almost like they make them in the same factory, and we're like, he's like, hey, don't do that. And they're like, fuck you, right?
Why do you want to drive that? Why do you want to drive that? Why? Why do you want a giant, overcompensating, ugly machine?
I live in an earthquake zone. Are you nuts?
That one. Okay, that one in particular. There are other vehicles you can buy that are more aesthetically pleasing.
Sure. I mean, it looks like a space vehicle. That's not the problem. This is the Chinese one. I don't care. I just love that it's a dig at his design. And I hope it sells like hotcakes over there, because fuck them.
And it will.
But I want to get the GMC Hummer, the electric Hummer. That's why I like it, because it can crab walk. And in that particular instance, if you're you're in a like off-roading and there's some shit in front of you, you can literally, and you can't back up, the wheels can go sideways and you go fucking around it like that. That's kind of genius.
I mean, I'd buy one just for that too. That's fucking amazing. We would need that here in Portland with all the craters. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, you would. So I drive, as many people know, an FJ Cruiser, and I've had it. I'm the original owner. I have had this thing since 2012. It's a 2012. I got it in 2013. So I got it like ever so slightly used. Okay. And I drive this thing. And I got it here. I'll show you basically what it looks like. This isn't mine, but it's one like it. This guy right here, this thing, I drive that.
Oh, okay. Toyotas are excellent vehicles. Toyotas.
It has almost 200,000. It will
last longer than you will, Hal.
It's
got 200,000 longer than the rest of all of
Exactly. It's got 200,000 miles on it almost, and it still runs great. It's a great camping vehicle. I needed something you could throw an entire amp and cab in, like the amp cabinets. Yeah. So I could stack two of them on the side and all my gear on the left, and so I needed a truck for that. And also, I bought it because it's got a roll cage side airbags, and the doors are suicide doors, meaning that the back door right here it only opens when the front door opens. So my kid was a toddler at that time, and when I was a little kid, driving with my dad, playing with the door handle, fell out of a moving car. This might explain a lot to people. Yeah, fell right out of the car while my dad was driving. Just leaned out.
So that's such a Gen X story. That's such a Gen X kid story.
And so I've had that in my life and in my head for a very long time. And so when I had a son, I'm like, yeah, it's not happening. So you can forget child locks when, if you're mixed custody and somebody has them the rest of the time, you can forget to turn them off for somebody and forget to turn them back on. So fuck that. I was like, this is it. His door doesn't open unless I open my door. That's how we're doing this. And so that's the vehicle I got. And it fucking rules.
Also, it does. And I'll say this. I mean, I personally am a small person and I don't need a large vehicle. But what you need it for makes sense. And also, it's a nice looking vehicle. And it doesn't, you don't have it doesn't appear you're trying to overcompensate for anything when you're driving something that looks like it's a useful vehicle.
Yes.
It looks like a normal vehicle.
Yeah.
It looks like, like any other Jeep or SUV-ish thing that's on the road. You're not trying to gain attention from it. You're just living life, driving your kid around in the thing. And you're not like, oh, I'm bigger than you and I'm going to roll over you. It's not a monster truck. It's normal looking.
And this is the Hummer, which is basically like a 2025 version of what mine is. Like you can see how cars go that way. Right.
Sure.
And if I had one of these, I would put a rack on the top of it for like a camper box. So you can go camping and then you climb up and you sleep on top of it. So you can go where the bears are and not have to worry about death and that kind of stuff. Like that's why I would do this. Now, that said, you can't take the Cybertruck anywhere you can take that. And that's an EV. It's got a same range, bigger payload, stronger engine. You can get it with a towing winch on it so you can help people, which is the whole fucking point. And if you live in in an earthquake zone, like I said, if you've been through like a 7.2 or some of that shit and you've seen the days and the aftermath of that, I'm surprised everybody in fucking LA doesn't drive a similar. There's a lot of SUVs and a lot of Land Rovers there, specifically in case people need to drive on the fucking shoulder or up on gravel and shit like that. That's just right. So
got it.
Yeah, just so you know. Anyway, so this is the
longest I've ever talked about a vehicle in my life, by the way.
We're talking cars. You got to be able to
I'm just a
cars.
girl, I mean, my car, I just need to get from point A to point B. I'm just driving my VW
I agree,
Jetta
but if
from
there's
here
a
to
crevice that could suck Lois Lane's vehicle into it between you at point A and point B.
Oh my God. So traumatizing. That scene has traumatized me for life because, first of all, you don't know that that's a thing that can happen when you're a small child. And that was 1978. So I was like, I was 9, 8 or 9, right? Like I'm 9, and my parents already traumatized me by taking me to a double feature of Jaws and Jaws 2 a few years prior. Then they take me to Superman, which is, you think it's going to be fine. You think, well, I'm watching Jaws 2 and screaming my head off, and my mom's like, Tara, it's just a movie, relax. Yay, the 70s. But when she gets trapped in the crevice and she gets buried alive, that is nightmare fuel. Nightmare fuel for life. So yes, anything that would prevent me from being smothered in a crevasse. Yes, thank you. I will drive that. I would drive that for sure.
Yes.
Also, if your vehicle, I will also posit nothing from the side of your vehicle could fly off as a projectile and impale people, which is why
that's also a key point.
Cybertruck happened.
Yeah, I have been struck twice in my car by other vehicles. Randomly, it seems like I driving. Both of them were like right rear corner panel, and I was rear-ended. I did a whole comedy special called Recreation. I had to run an errand for my custody battle, and I was carrying boxes of stuff to my kid's mom's lawyer, and they had to be there by a certain time, and then I was rear-ended in traffic.
Times.
And it popped my tire and threw my car up like that, and it was like the dude just full on ran into 6 cars, bam. Wow. And I changed the tire and drove the rest of the way. Didn't even need realignment, just needed a new tire to replace my spare.
That's fucking badass. Love it.
And then I had somebody swipe the side of me, going like they went left and then right down a ramp. and I was like, I didn't even realize it until I saw there was red paint on the side of my car where they had scratched it, and I ended up having to get it repainted. But it warbled and pushed back, and as I looked over, like I couldn't see what color the car was as it was driving away. Like that side of it was just fucked up, like where it had hit me. And then this woman
your
drove
hand
into
went right into my face.
No, I'm raging into your brain. Right. No. So but and then this woman, while I was going to my old agent's office, I paused to turn in, and she tried to either go around me or something, and just drove her car under my right back tire. Kitty cat. And like my car went vroom, and I was like, what was that? And I turned around, and her car is just mangled. It's like I drove over it on a monster truck rally, and I was sitting still. And I was like, this is a car I can have my kid in. This will work. This is fine.
That there you go.
It's a car good enough. I call it Camden's tank. It's literally
great.
We're taking Camden's tank. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So that said, the Cybertruck is a piece of shit. You can't get rid of the fucking thing. You can't unload them. And I imagine
it's worth half the price.
Yeah, and the Chinese have just, in the biggest market he has, which is China, have just created
there.
Yes, have just created a competing vehicle that looks almost exactly like it, but it's Chinese, and everybody
suck it. How do you say suck it in Chinese? You would know.
You wouldn't really say that. You'd say "chunida."
What is that? What does that translate?
It means like piss off, like go to your own room. Is what it means. Chunida, like that. It just means.
But suck it is the point. Yeah. Suck it and suck it and choke on it and then suck it again.
Yeah, because wow.
Okay.
And
wow.
Yeah, just brutal.
There's a lot of wow. There's just a lot they can suck on right now.
Yeah, Tesla stock is down 3% today.
Bye.
Boo-hoo.
Only 3?
Yeah.
It's only Monday. Give it time. It'll go lower.
Well, and one of the reasons, again, there's my favorite thing on stocks. I don't know if you ever look at stock stuff, but
only when I'm talking to you.
Yeah, right. I've only started looking at this because of Trump and all this stuff, because he put so much weight on the stock market. I was like, I don't think that's actually what's fucking going on. Like in the beginning of it, I'd say 2017. Yeah, I was like, what you just said just sounds like bullshit. I don't know enough about the stock market, but it sounds like it's fucking stupid. And so I went and looked it up and like, yeah, it's fucking stupid. And then I started keeping up with just how stupid it was, right? Okay, so 48...
profoundly stupid.
So Tesla used to be a big, strong buy for a long time. Right after the election, big, strong buy.
Yep.
Now it has hit its hold zone. International... Its investors are dropping. There you go. The buying is obviously local. It's a meme stock. People are buying Tesla stock to influence Trump, like they're buying his meme coin, but it's not because of its worth or whatever. Anyway, so their target price, these same ones are saying hold, think it's going to go up $9, and then they're going to go sell. That's what the point is. They're like, you can squeeze. Yeah. This has become a day trading stock. They're riding it. The suckers till it collapses is the idea. Yeah. So the insiders are selling. People who own stock on it are selling a bunch just to get out. And they know this. And then it's missing its earnings report. Look at this. This was a surprise. Negative 34%.
Oops.
Yeah. And again,
this is why he's taking a step back from Doge, because
he was supposed to stay the whole
is bad.
He's going to remember when he was going to stay the whole 130 days. Then he was going to stay basically the whole time, just 2 days a week or something like that.
No.
And now,
bye.
Yeah.
Bye. And soon, I would imagine he's also going to end up having to divest from Twitter soon, because he keeps losing money there also. And so, I mean, I don't know. Who gives a shit?
I mentioned this,
but anything that embarrasses him in front of his dick boy army is cool with me.
Is good. Yeah, I agree. I make the case that Twitter is meant to be operated at a loss for its propaganda purposes. That ultimately, if it ever even breaks even, it'll be a fucking miracle. But the goal of it is the same as Okay, remember when Mitt Romney and his group were buying up all the progressive talk stations in the country? They were buying up radio stations and turning them into like the Patriot, even though there's no fucking market for it. All those.
I mean, there
all
is
those
actually. There is a market for conservative talk radio. For sure.
Right. No. But like LA already has 2 big conservative talk radio stations. They're not going to lose listeners to that. They didn't. Patriot came in, and it didn't take anything from these other folks. Half the people that you're talking about would be on this station, like Hannity and fucking.
They already have their own.
Yeah,
shit.
They're already there.
Yeah.
They're already on the Capital Network or whatever it's called. So they were already on a station. That, like the Rush Limbaughs of the world were already on these stations.
Right.
They bought
I see where you're getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, they bought this station up just to put these like low-rung nobodies on there, just to kill the brand of the progressive talk station that was in town, the one that was, Steph was on here, got eaten in that. And technically speaking, legally, if you're operating on behalf of an investor, you have to make decisions that are to maximize their investment. And so if you start to lose money and it doesn't work, you've got to adjust or reinvest the money somewhere else, or I don't know, step down or fuck off. But you've got to do that. Otherwise, it's illegal. You're committing a crime. You're committing like at the very least, like it's a baseline financial crime. I don't think they wanted to make money on it, though. I think basically that the progressive talk station was eating away at their taxpayer breaks for billionaires and eating away at their excuses for why we can't have a single payer system or something like that. And so they needed that voice taken out of the fight. And in that point, it could lose money, but still benefit them financially elsewhere. Right. And I think the same thing is true of Twitter. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, people are still using it, and people are still going to go there, and for the reasons that they do. And I mean, we all have our reasons for using it. Those of us who still use it. For me, I don't spend as much time there as I used to. Although over the weekend, I had some fun. For me, it's like if a cat finds a mouse that's dying and just kind of bats it around a little bit before it finally finishes the job. Mm-hmm. I think that's like the consensus, and it's also. I'm just stubborn. I am just a stubborn Taurus woman, and I will not let these fucking morons run me off. Like, I'm just like, it gives them a win that they don't deserve.
Wait, hold on, pause. Wait, 1 second.
I just don't want them to think that they can push me around. I just don't want them to think they can push me around. That's all.
No, I just I
want to take you for granted.
The appeal I just think the atheist appeal to astrology just created a hitch in my get along. I was like, you can't claim Taurus as your behavior point as an atheist. It's not allowed. It's not allowed.
Astrology is not religion. Astrology is just here's what the stars say.
Yes, that's true. Yes, astrology is definitely not religion. In the same way that 3-card Monty is not religion. In the same way that coin flipping, is not religion. But okay.
I will say
religion is a smile on a dog, I would say. Right.
Philosophy is talk on a cereal box. Okay. Anyway, all I'm saying is Tauruses are known to be tenacious.
Sure.
Nay, stubborn, if you will. And so, it's one of those things where it's like, I was here first. It's just like, hey, fuck you, little tiny MAGA dude. I'm not scared of your dumb memes. Like, it's
sure.
It's just that. And it's like when you're in honors English, but you're not smart enough to do math and you end up in the remedial math class. That's what happened to me in high school. Smart enough to be in honors English and history, no brain for math. So I would end up in the math class with the dumb kids who would look at the band names that I wrote on my notebook and be like, what's REM? Who's Depeche Mode? What is this? It's just
depressed mode. You were a big depressed mode fan?
Hello.
I'm kidding, of course. Yeah.
OG alternate chick for sure. Who are the Smiths? Sure. What's a cure? Like that shit. It's just, if you need a touch, if you're feeling down and you need a touch of superiority, all you need to do is go look at Twitter and be like, I'm the fucking smartest person I know. It's fine.
Jesus.
It's also where the bulk of Congress still posts.
Isn't that what the Bravo channel is for?
Anywhere else.
Right. Okay. So
I
agree.
watch Bravo.
Look,
Thank you very much.
I have
My
a
point
Truth
being,
Social
if
account.
you want to know what
so
they're doing, okay. So if you want, and also it is our job to know what they're doing and report it to people who don't want to look at it. So I see it as taking one for the team. I'll go there. I'll tell you what's happening. You don't have to. I'll let you
then
know.
don't engage back with those folks. Just grab and go.
I'm doing that,
okay.
but mostly,
all right. Look,
I am mostly engaging with Republican
you know how I feel
members
about this.
of Congress, just
asking
asking questions. All I'm doing is asking them questions.
I think members of Congress need to be off that site, and I think they got to be
Well,
elsewhere.
I'm not disagreeing with you. By the way, if every single Republican in Congress joined Blue Sky, I would have no reason to look at Twitter. None. No reason. Because that's who I want to talk to. And it brings us to, I don't know if you saw, I hope that you did, but a Republican in New York by the name of Mike Lawler held a town hall, and a woman who turns out to be, she's a social worker, and she's a Jewish woman. Her name is Emily Feiner. She stood up. She asked Mike Lawler a question at his town hall, as is her First Amendment right, as is all of our First Amendment rights as American citizens. He didn't like her question because her question was, what's your red line? When are you going to stand up to this lawless administration? Which is ironic because I call him Mike Lawless. And instead of answering her, he had her forcibly, physically removed by New York State Police. Now, I was in that room. I would have made everybody block the exit so that they could not have removed her. I would have had everybody stand up and fight that because they physically put her. The second they put hands on her, she has a case. She has a case against them. She should sue Mike Lawler, and I hope that she does, for being forcibly removed from a town hall for asking a question in the United States of America in the year 2025. These are important questions to ask. Why would you do that? Why did you do that? Why can't you handle a question from one of your constituents? That is a valid question. Your job is to show up and answer questions, whether you like them or not. And on his congressional website, on his contact page, the first line is, he loves to hear from his constituents. Bullshit that you do. You do not. You don't care. She went there because she was upset and angry and exercised her First Amendment rights and did her civic duty. And she was forcibly removed. And everybody, that's why you go on Twitter and you go to Mike Lawler's account and you ask him the question that she asked in front of everybody. You put it in a public space and you continue to use that public space to hold him accountable. He's not on Blue Sky. He's not going to, I'm not going to get his attention there. And I may not get his attention on Twitter, but I can call his office and leave a voicemail and share a screenshot of his phone number and say, this is what I had time for this morning, and so do you.
Yes.
And I can post that on Blue Sky and post it on Facebook and post it on Substack and share it everywhere. Because that is something that makes sense. That is what you can use social media to do instead of sitting there and have dipshit fights. That's a choice. That's my choice. I'll fight with Nancy Mace there. I'll fight with Marjorie Taylor Greene there. I will fight with, Mike Waltz there. Whether they respond or not, it's like our buddy Brian Karam, who says, all you have to do is ask the question. Just ask the question that enough people see it. Kristen Welker brings Donald Trump back on Meet the Press and asks some questions and doesn't hold him accountable. Yes, it is your job to follow the Constitution. Not, I don't know. Yes, it's your fucking job.
Right.
That is the discussion. That is the question there. Why do you think it's okay to let this piece of shit get away with it? And you ask it in every single public forum, not just one. You ask them in all of them across the board. Where are the people gathering?
Right. Okay. Maybe so.
Again,
but I also I don't have to honor the if there were a bunch of Republicans on Stormfront. I'm not going to just go there because it's the one place where they truly let it all hang out. So I do draw a distinction between where I'm putting my attention and the return on investment of how much I'm benefiting his site and allowing it to continue, because it does perpetuate it.
I mean, it's going to be there whether we're there or not.
No, I mean, no, I don't think so. I think a lot of the whole thing is built on argument, and I think when it started to become a ghost town initially, that's when it took its biggest dip in advertising. When the fighting comes back to it, that's when the advertising dollars go up. Because again, this is why I talk about like people in my chat on Facebook. Please throw a angry emoji in the chat right now, or use the little angry emoji thing next to the thing to like respond to this. It will boost me more on Facebook than if you write a paragraph.
It's crazy.
Because both their algorithms at Facebook and Twitter are basically written the same way, and they boost argument. And the idea is that advertisers that will advertise on there know that there are two goals. It's a system. Prime them emotionally, and then whatever they see, they'll be ripe for. It doesn't have to be happy. You can make them elated, or you can make them angry. Angry's cheaper and easier. So you can make them angry, and then I show them an ad, and they're like, it gets right past their sensor in their brain because they're in an enraged state. They blindly absorb stuff because your brain is always taking in all the stuff around you. When it's hyper focused in anger or joy, it will not realize the other stuff that's floating in. That's just the reality of it. And that's the entire functioning structure of how Twitter works. It is meant to be to poke holes in your brain through anger baiting, and then advertisers pour their shit into it. That's how it's designed.
No, I understand that.
And so
I understand that. And I also, by the way, I block every ad that shows up in my feed. I block them. I don't read them. I don't click on the thing. I just not interested in
and I think that's smart.
Not,
but the rest of the people on there, the maggots don't.
Well,
and so that's the point. But anyways, I shall not be moved on this because I'm a hard ass about it.
You to.
Right? Yeah. No, I'm not saying you are. I'm talking more.
I am not looking to change anybody's mind on that one.
I am.
I'm not.
Obviously.
Do what you do.
Yeah. So
I know you.
yes, the anger emojis do help, and they drive up my numbers. We can actually see it happen on social media when I do it. So let's switch to some happy news, because I think you'll appreciate this more than anybody. There's
happy news. I love happy news.
Very prominent Republican in Congress saying the Republicans are going to lose the midterms. They are.
Who said that?
It might be this young lady.
No way.
Yeah.
No. Oh, she's finally mad about not getting her pardon, and she is finally speaking out. She's also not happy about Iran, which is weird. Yep. She loves death, right? She's a death merchant. She loves death. That's why she was at the White House before she was even sworn into office to help plot January 6th, because she wanted to kill a lot of people. But
there's a difference. Okay,
this is interesting though. Like, here's her red line. There it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She didn't get her
We're going
pardon.
to lose the
She's never going to get it. She's mad. She's mad.
Yeah.
Good.
So she said in a Monday interview, she was on Bannon's thing. Stick with the and they're back and forth about this too, because like Bannon hates Musk, and it might just be fucking jockeying for control of Trump's fucking reigns.
It could be, especially since Doge is the only assignment Trump gave her, which isn't it's not a real office, and it's not a real government program, so it's not a real job. So not only has he,
and it's redundant,
right, and so exactly, and so maybe and I obviously can't possibly speak for how deranged Marjorie is. She didn't get her pardon. She doesn't have a real cabinet job. He's not keeping any of his promises to her. And she's mad. And she says the Republicans are the problem and stick to the program. What's the program, Marjorie?
What
program are you
agenda? Like they aren't. They are. Yeah, right. It's the Republicans that are the problem, Steve. Stick to the program and understand that the way to win the midterms is by the House and the Senate delivering the campaign promises, because Trump's not on that. He's not on the ballot in 2026. And I've been talking about this for a long time, kids, but you got to understand, once Trump is gone, these guys know they are fucked. It is why they are bum rushing all of these signing things, why he's doing everything by executive order, because they're not even sure he's going to make it to the fucking midterms, much less the end of his term and transition over. Do you think J.D. Vance is going to be able to drag MAGA into the 21st, the 22nd century? Right. there's nobody there. Like Ted Cruz is talking about running. They've got fucking nobody, and they know it. She's in last place running for Senate in the in the Republican primary. Never mind running against the incumbent. She's last amongst Republicans.
Would get creamed.
Oh my God! And that's why I think they must choose her. I think Republicans. If it didn't make me nauseous and feel like a violation of every belief I have, I would donate to her senatorial campaign. Just so she would think she had a shot.
Right, and then maybe we can get Marcus Flowers in her actual seat because he would have done an amazing job.
Absolutely.
In the House. What a great guy! I got to hang out with Marcus Flowers a little bit at the Democratic National Convention last August, and not only
but
but he's a good human being, and so he would, But this is really interesting because if she's saying this, it's only a matter of time before the quote unquote Freedom Caucus starts echoing this because they're like the extreme.
Right, but she got kicked out of the
She's going to get him back, though. Caucasians. She'll get him back with that kind of shit because it's going to come to because they're not as united as people think they are, right?
Yeah.
That's their image. Their image is that they're all united behind Trump, but they really aren't. And I would say, I would posit that, now that they're introducing a third round of articles of impeachment, I think that there are enough Republicans who would vote with Democrats if they held the votes behind closed doors this time, because they could have done it the first. I think if they did it the first time, they would have gotten him convicted. If they had done it the second time, they definitely would have gotten him convicted.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even need as many Republicans to vote with Democrats this time. Last time we got 10. We don't even need 10 this time. They held an impeachment vote behind closed doors. I think that they would vote.
Oh, 100%.
They would find him guilty.
Oh, absolutely.
So
they'd bounce him in a heartbeat.
I'm encouraging their cowardice because if you're not going to do it in the light and democracy, do it. Just if you're scared of him behind closed doors and you're saying this shit behind closed doors, then vote him out behind closed doors. Do it. Just fucking get rid of him. Get him off your jock because he has brought you down for the last decade. And the Republican Party, as we knew them to be prior to Trump, was obviously, a fuck show and did terrible shit. But at least they behaved like they cared about America and their constituents and at least still voted to help their constituents.
They were like a thug hockey team. They were like a thug hockey team, but they still were playing hockey. And at this point, Trump has just brought snipers into the arena.
Exactly. And so this is the Democrats' issue, is that there's no semblance of a unity or a unifying message or a real leader, unless you're going to rally behind Jasmine Crockett, which everyone should. But there's no unifying message. There's no unifying leader in the Democratic Party. Now, I would say that our unifying message is obstruct Trump. That should be our unifying message, and our unifying leader. I'm still waiting. Like, it's going to be somebody from the House, I think, who's going to step up, and because it's not the Senate. The Senate is not stepping up because you have Cory Booker who I love and adore Cory Booker. He gets up there and he breaks the filibuster record and he says all of this great stuff about fighting back and hanging tough, and then he fucking votes to confirm David Perdue as ambassador to China. You cannot do that. You are either always obstructing or you're always going to play nice, but you have fine. That's why we're frustrated with Democratic leadership. Chuck Schumer is sending strongly worded letters. That's not the leadership we need. What we need is someone who's going to stand up and go, fuck this guy. We're not confirming shit. It's obstruction from now on. Let's fucking go. We don't have that. That's a unifying message that Democrats could rally behind. Watching them fall apart is part of it, but also unifying at the same time. Because if they fall apart, that's great. How do we take advantage of that? We have to take advantage of dissension in their ranks and unify more. That's what we should be doing. That's why we need a Democratic press secretary. Lord, I have been advocating for this for 3 solid
things.
months.
But let's back up to that other point.
Okay.
The strongly worded letters from criticism of Schumer I have heard bandied about quite a bit, especially I hear people on Twitter use it. But anyways, I would argue that the reason he can only send strongly worded letters is because Democrats didn't deliver a win, and they are in the minority in every area. Not only the House and the Senate, not even the presidency, but also the Supreme fucking Court. And when you spend the better part of 2 decades acquiescing power over time, not to corporate Dems or some people who aren't 100% on the team or fucking bitching about Joe Manchin or something like that, but literally giving it over to Republicans. I had a guy come up to me, bless his heart, at the thing we did for WCPT. WCPT turned 20 years old this weekend. My 15-year anniversary on the show will be sometime this summer, so we're going to do a thing about that, which is great.
Mazel.
And a guy came up to me and he said, I said my shit about David Hogg's bullshit at the DNC, and I said, here's my thing. They have one fucking job at the DNC. One fucking job. Turn red districts purple and purple districts blue. That's it. If you could get a progressive Dem in a district, you already would have. They already would have been voted in years ago during the fucking Obama bum rush at the beginning of his term. If you could get one there, you would have. And if you try to run somebody against them that's super progressive in an area that can barely hang on to a Democratic seat when it's a corporate Dem, you know who's going to replace them? A Rand Paul independent or a fucking Republican. And even if they, like Rand Paul, stand up there and go, it's terrible that the president has powers he shouldn't have, blah, blah, blah. What's going to happen? He's still going to fucking vote with the guy. So that Democrat that you don't like because they vote with Democrats, lockstep, but you don't like their language occasionally, or you think they present programs that aren't 100% how you would do it or whatever. They're not even full on blue dogs, these fuckers. They're just going after people who aren't there. Like, it's just ridiculous. And anybody, like, I don't have any time at all for any fucking biting of the neck of our own party at all. We are out of power because we lost that power. You could say he cheated and took it.
Why
that's
did
fine.
we lose that power?
Okay, we lost that power because the slacktivist class and ran the party in one direction and couldn't speak clearly about their own goals in the process of doing it to the point where they could bring in the normies and the independents to make them understand. They insisted on jargon, and if you didn't speak the shibboleth, you got kicked to the fucking curb. And it got to be such a purity test that they started attacking their own. That's it. It had nothing else. It wasn't trans people's problem. It wasn't that we spent too much time on trans issues. I'll tell you what, we didn't spend enough fucking time on it. We used bumper sticker phrases, trans rights are human rights, or trans women are real women, and shit like that, and we thought, that handles it. I shouldn't have to fucking tell you. Well, you do, because they don't understand. And if you care, you will take the time to stand there and explain it to them, because it's worth it. Because the lives of trans people are worth the length of the discussion. And if people are like, I don't have to, teach them how to be. Yes, you fucking do. If all you can do is preach to the choir, you're fucking useless. And if you turn that on, like, purging Dems, or even, I would argue, independents like Kristen Sinema and Angus King, who vote with Dems every goddamn time, every time there's something important, they vote with us. Every time. If you're willing to put that on the chopping block to try and throw a Cenk Uyghur fucking candidate up in an area where they will lose, we are responsible. This isn't Chuck Schumer's fucking fault. This isn't fucking Cory Booker's fault. This isn't the lack of leadership or a scattered message on the Democratic Party. It's our fucking fault. It's us as the voters and the people who speak to and for them. Period.
Well, so I hear what you're saying, and as somebody who attended the Democratic National Convention,
I was there too.
Heard the messaging, and followed the instructions I was. We were given assignments every single day at the Democratic National Convention, and I put that practice into the world. And I had my conversations, and I talked to people. The problem is getting other people who have made up their minds to listen when you're basically, here's the truth. They don't like the truth. They don't want to accept the truth. And I use my stepfather as a perfect example. He's not MAGA, but he's a Republican who refuses to vote for a Democrat. It doesn't matter who the Democrat is. He refuses flat out. Now, he lives in New York City. So his vote is the same thing as like spitting into the Grand Canyon. It's not going to do anything. His vote is going to be negated by everybody else voting for Democrats. But I can sit there on the phone with him or in their apartment when I go visit, and I show him, here's what you are voting for. This is what you're telling me when you make your vote like this. This is the message you're sending. He's like, well, I don't think like that.
That's fine. So I'm gonna stop you there just because it's
not 100. But I'm not. What I'm saying is I'm not disagreeing with you. Mm-hmm. It's not one thing. It's several layers of things.
Okay, no. So you're mistaking.
But you can't make people listen.
I'm talking. Okay, on a one-to-one anecdotal, and in that particular situation that you described, that's a completely waste of your breath. You'd literally be better off making phone calls to congressional candidates and yelling at them over the phone than you would talking to him because, like you said, his vote doesn't matter, and he's already said he's got a line. And I've always said that when we're talking to people, you know, even the maggots in the chat that show up, I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to the person just over their shoulder. If they're not going to be moved, the person, at least I can call out their bullshit to their face, and the person behind them will go, yeah, you are kind of full of shit, dude. And that it will land because
you don't know someone's doing that. You don't know that you're reaching the person behind them. How do you know? How do you know that you're reaching anybody when we're doing?
Okay, no.
I see.
Right.
Okay,
you can't operate in nihilism. I'm saying you can.
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, I'm doing it into a microphone, and we're speaking on here. The only thing I know that we're having, the only way I would know we're having an audience is the chat room, which is only a slice of the people who watch in general, anyways. Right. The point I'm trying to make is that if you're engaged in messaging, you talk to people in a language they can understand. I don't want to be the stupid American in France going, French fries. I want French, you know what I mean? Because you're in fucking France, speak their language. Right. And there's an element of, we insisted that the jargon was the truth. And it isn't. The jargon is represented. All words are representative of stuff. And if you think it, you can just fucking, they're mic dropping phrases like healthcare is a human right. Boom. You're like, that doesn't do shit for those people. Because not only do they not get what you're trying to say, they actively disagree. And if you're going to talk them down for it, somebody says you can't blame the left progressives for losing out. Yes, I can. I am doing that right now. I am being abundantly fucking clear about that. It's because those are the ones that insist that jargon, that terminology, that singularity of message is more important than the depth of the thing itself. And that's why they can't give, in a negotiation, you can't compromise on a bill or work with people across the aisle because it's really about gang colors more than it's about how do we get the best health care for people in the reality we're in right now so that people won't fucking die right now. Because if you'd listen to all the people, the alleged progressives, I would say, the faux-gressives, I call them, who were against the ACA. Why were they against the ACA? Because it didn't go far enough. Well, that's not a fucking excuse. And there are 25 million people, at least, that are alive right now because the ACA exists.
That's right.
And if you're going, well, you got to break some omelet, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet, fuck it, then you're saying those people's lives aren't worth it. And then I would say to you, how are you different from the actuarial people at the health insurance industry or the pharmaceutical companies who are like, well, a section of them are going to die. What are you going to do? It's the same morals. It's just got a different fucking cloak on it. And so me, my thing is, and this is, I'll kind of wrap this up. We talked about this David Hogg thing about him going after some Dems that were running, and this less about the messaging part of it. They're actively trying to primary Dems that are sitting right now, including, by the way, their first target.
Old.
Well, no, not even then. The first target was that East Indian guy in Michigan that they didn't like, the guy who just put in the 7 articles of impeachment against Trump. Right?
No, that was
yeah, right. That was their first target. He's their first target for a primary. Why? I don't know, because he wasn't. I don't know. They couldn't count him. Whatever. Like, it's just silly. So
he's obviously a good one. Keep him there. He's doing good. It's just,
right. And you don't have an alternative that is going to pick up that gap. And so the idea is that if you have a district where AOC is, for example, you can do that. It's super easy. You know why? Because it was already fucking blue. and that she probably would have
Right.
gotten the gig even if she didn't run against somebody who was an incumbent, just because of age and transference of power. But that district was AOC before AOC was fucking born, and it would
Right.
remain so. So you don't get points for fucking, like gold idol to bag of sand to gold idol. That doesn't work. You got to
Right.
turn, and that's why I'm saying this is the only thing that matters, because we have to have power to stop him and to stop the most horrible shit he's trying to do that is impacting
Right.
actual human lives right fucking now. And that is
Right.
turn red districts purple, purple districts blue. That's the only goal. That's it. Everything else is a waste of time or is counterproductive or actively working with Trump. Because I can't believe people are this stupid this long. I'm just saying. Like,
Well,
fuck me.
obviously. So that's the job of the DNC, but we have members of Congress who are not pushing forward democratic ideas. They're just like,
Nope.
I
I'm telling
don't
you.
understand, but I don't understand.
Like who?
When
Like
you-
what? I guess this is the point, because it becomes kind of like this soft rolling truth that then swaths over all Democrats, that somehow they're all tainted with this person, whoever you're talking to.
No.
Like, let me know. Talk to me about who is, and the David Perdue thing. Right now, we don't have an ambassador to China, and his whole pitch, whatever you think of him, blah blah blah, was that they need a nonpartisan approach to China. They need somebody who
Well, they
will
didn't
ratchet
get
down.
one.
Well, apparently they have, because Perdue is actively pushing back against increasing possibility of war with China. He's trying to get the tariffs rolled back. He's engaging. The point is, having it vacant versus doing it is not the same thing. It's not the same thing.
But you don't. It's. I understand that someone has to do the job. I understand that, but it shouldn't be somebody who committed inside trading like that David Perdue did. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like they're looking the
Right.
other way so much of the
I agree.
time.
You know who it should be?
And
You know
so
who it
it's
should be? It
frustrating.
should be fucking me, because I'm a Democrat
Sure.
and I speak Chinese and I know the culture and I care about the people of the country, even if I don't like the government, and I can understand the basis of this. But you know what? I'll never have a chance to even get a vote on it, because I'm a Democrat and Democrats aren't in power. The Republicans are going to pick who these nominees are, and their first bench is worse than their second bench in some areas, and then it's sometimes the other way around. They could be looking at David Perdue and going, who's their second choice? Holy fuck. Like their second
Right.
choice could be Boebert for all we fucking know.
The two evils.
Right.
Well, and then
that-
at the same
and we're at
time,
we're in a dangerous
ahead.
impasse with China and with Taiwan and the like. And if you leave that gap there, even if it's a less than perfect or even a half-assed, even if this dude's just trying to fucking butter his bread over there, it's better than somebody who's trying to wipe out the entire country. And, in the same way that, like, any of our Middle East ambassadors, if they secretly hate Muslims, it becomes a problem. So,
Yeah.
that might be what they're talking about. So the point is, I'm giving them way more rope than I ever would in this circumstance, because the alternative is so fucking dire. Perdue is much more like Marco Rubio, I would argue, in his belief system.
Wow.
He is. He's not a Hegseth. And so, and again, if the person waiting in the wings was a Hegseth, they're like, fuck, get Perdue through here. Fuck it. Just go. Let's get this done. We got bigger fish to fry. He's not going to do any damage, and it's not going to change any fucking thing.
Well, then
We're pulling out of China anyways.
Then fair, fine. Then after Democrats end up voting with Republicans on something like that, there needs to be a Democratic press secretary who comes out and says, we understand that the smaller bits of this are maybe lost on America at large, but here is an explanation for why these Democratic senators chose to vote with Republicans on this particular issue, because they're focused on such and such, or because this is what that matters. That's would be great, because instead
that's why people
of
should
getting
like and
that,
subscribe.
Correct. And I mean, you and I and everybody else on the Political Voices Network, we understand this, but America at large does not, because the media continues to fail them about educating them
I agree.
on how the
I agree.
government works.
But
I have a question
finish.
for you.
Okay.
I have a question for you. We see the deterioration of somebody's behavior, like John Fetterman. The man had a stroke. That's valid. My ex-husband had a stroke. There are things that he's limited in doing. He can no longer practice medicine because he can't multitask, and he can't remember certain things, and he has aphasia and can't remember certain words. John Fetterman was just on a plane and refused to wear a seatbelt and got into a big fight with the flight attendant. That's just embarrassing on its face. His behavior has become increasingly erratic.
Right.
He has been called out repeatedly.
He needs to resign for his own health.
So, yeah. Okay. So, when I say that we need to hold Democrats accountable
that's
when
not
they
accountability.
are behaving badly.
No.
It's
he's
not
mentally
accountability
ill.
to ask him to step down. That's what I'm
No.
saying. He has to step down. We as Democrats.
Yeah, that's not accountability though. That's like holding somebody accountability for their cancer. Like he's not accountable for that. The man had a stroke and then suffered like a depressive episode afterwards. He's probably had a couple of successive smaller strokes, would be my guess, in this period of time, and it's his health. That's not holding him accountable. That's just addressing the issue. I'm like, look, motherfucker, face it. You had a stroke. Like, you're stupid now. Like, that's not. I'm not going to be ableist about it.
I'm not saying that either. What I am saying is we have to continuously be capable of looking at our side pragmatically and saying this person is no longer capable of doing the job for reason. Right?
Sure.
We did it with Bob Menendez. We did it with John Edwards. We do that. You can't
even include Fetterman in that issue. You would argue even that because his is a literal mental health and physical issue.
It's not the ableism. Okay, set that aside.
Okay.
What it is seeing that there is an issue and calling it out and saying this person is in a place in their life now where they are no longer able to do this job. In Fetterman's case, it's because he has suffered a deficit. We have to be able to have that conversation and
I think we can.
Fetterman.
I don't. No. Okay. So,
to
that point.
Wait.
No. You asked me the question. I get to address this one part of it. Here's the thing. Fetterman is not an example of someone to be held accountable. And I asked you for somebody particularly in the House or something that we're talking about, like David Hogg is talking about brooming people from Congress, from the House particularly, going after House members.
Agree with that.
Right. Okay. And I was saying, and I was like, holding people accountable. This has nothing to do with that. This is just shooting yourself in the fucking foot.
But if he refuses to step down, if John Fetterman refuses to resign, despite calls from Democrats, then the question is, what do we do? What do we do?
The governor of Pennsylvania.
We are acknowledging. We're acknowledging that.
First of all, you and I can't do anything. Neither of us live in Pennsylvania. No. Neither of us live in Pennsylvania. He's a senator representing a state. The state has the ability to recall a senator if they believe that he is mentally ill or can't do the job anymore. So that's more than likely what would happen. Is that there would and I would be okay with that. I think that would be Shapiro perhaps that would have to bring that up, right? And I think
is it our responsibility to reach out to Josh Shapiro and say, we are concerned about the future of our party, and we are asking you to please replace Fetterman with someone who is able to fill his seat? Who's responsible? Who is supposed to go to Josh Shapiro and ask him for that?
The voters of fucking Pennsylvania. Here's the point I'm trying to make. We're not.
How do they know to do that? I'm just asking. I'm asking questions. I don't live in Pennsylvania.
They're voters. They pay attention. Right. Okay. The point I'm trying to make is that we're not talking about people that need to be removed or we need to speak truth to power about that are voting against us. And using him as an example is completely outside the realm of this. It's like Mitch McConnell's stroke or Biden's age or those kind of things. Those are totally different animals than somebody who allegedly, in this idea that Hogg and others were putting forward, that these corporate Dems are voting against our best interests when they are not. And I'm saying that when you act like they are, there's this ghost of like, it's like a magic number shows up when people start talking about it, where they're like, there must be 12 of them or it wouldn't be an issue. So they're going after these 12 or these 15 House members that have to be. And so far, there's fucking zero that they could actually replace with somebody more liberal in that thing. That's what I mean. So no, it's not the same thing of us going, I'm concerned for his health. I've met him and his wife back years ago before he was a senator. They were both lovely people. He's a different human being in that circumstance. But that is a health issue. I'm talking about them going after people who aren't based on a purity test, which is the issue that we actually dealt with in the last election. and is a problem going forward that needs to be dealt with. This is what the Dave Carville, that raccoon's balls are hanging too low to swing in the sunshine, or whatever the fuck he talks about. That's what that's the ongoing issue. We're not going to have we don't have an epidemic of stroke victims in the fucking party.
No.
The epidemic is this myth, and I will call it a myth, this myth that there are all these like Democrat, blue dog, corporate Dem types or whatever, which has become its own hashtag, that nobody can think of a way to fucking like replace them with a more liberal Democrat in that area, because they would never get the votes. They will never, not ever. And that corporate Dem that everybody bitches about, maybe they say the wrong thing in a committee hearing about like fluctuating funding for stuff, but none of it's been diverging from the party or standing there like Rand Paul does in the corner going, I'm just putting a flag in no forever. Like, we don't have a Freedom Caucus problem, and the closest we ever did was the Squad, and even they pulled their weight. So the idea is that I would like, oh shit, AOC is gaggling people together to fight against Pelosi, and we're going to get undermined or whatever. Even in that circumstance, as much as I didn't like it, if she was running, fuck, I know full well there's no way you would get some, like, nobody would think, I can get somebody a little more stable in that district than her, because that district is, is just waiting for the right blue dog to come along. It's stupid. You'll never get it. Right? If you got anything, you'd get a fucking anarchist. They would have to go further than she's willing to go, right? So the point is, you're not gaining any ground. And we have to gain ground because we have lost it. We have lost material ground. We have lost votes in the Senate, votes in the House, control of the Supreme Court, and control of the White House. Nothing else matters. And so this idea that, that we need to go after any of our own, even the ones we fucking can't stand, is a waste of effort. If you've got limited resources, do you bail? Okay, the boat is flooding, and you have limited physical strength. You don't have much food. You've got to conserve calories. You're in this situation, and you've got to bail water out of the thing. But one of the people in the boat is crying and mouthing off and all this kind of stuff, and it's driving everybody a bit batty. But it's not adding water to the boat, and it's not taking water out, but they're there or whatever. And so you put down your bucket and you turn around and punch them in the fucking face. You might feel better, but now there's like 5 buckets of water that have gained in the boat since you turned around and did that. And there is zero benefit. Zero. And in the end, because Democrats actually fucking care about human life, the losses aren't worth it. It's why the Republicans will always have some leverage on us, because we care about the poor. We care about the sick. We care about minorities. And they will use that leverage against us, but we can't be the ones who just go, I'm going to go after somebody in my own party because they don't care in the same language I do. Mm-hmm. That's what we had. That's what actually happened. Those are the seats we lost. And so what my argument is, and shall be forevermore, that David Hogg and his group, if they go after primarying people, they're wasting money, they're wasting time, and they're wasting resources in an actual emergency. In an actual, like if we were 50-50 and we had we had Kamala Harris and Biden in there, and you could kind of toss up votes, and like she can come in and sweep things up and, put it this way, right? Maybe you could argue some of that. We are definitely not in that situation. And in the next election, if we don't take at least the House, if not the Senate, the damage this asshole will be able to do, just even if his executive orders continue without being repealed. We're at 49-49. Last night they had a vote in the Senate on taking back the tariff power from Trump. Mitch McConnell and Sheldon Whitehouse weren't there, so it was a tie at 49. And a couple of Republicans joined the Democrats because all the Democrats voted for it. All the Democrats. Every fucking one of them voted for it. Voted to seize back the tariff power from the president. And a few Republicans joined them, and one was missing. Sheldon Whitehouse is in South Korea right now. Mitch McConnell's out. Both of them would have voted for it, and it would have passed. It would have fucking passed. But we don't have senators. That's all that matters. Filling the seats that are empty that don't have a Dem in them. Period. I don't give a shit if it's another Joe Manchin and we're pulling our hair out because he talks like an asshole. If he votes 80% of the time, it's going to save lives.
So when we hear a Marjorie Taylor Greene blaming Republicans for fucking shit up, how do we capitalize on that? Because she's not. She's not our ally.
You question her MAGA bona fides. You mock her incessantly. By the way, the way you handle these people, I'm talking very seriously because I feel like we can change our side. I actually give a shit, and I think you do too, and I think that I know my viewers do. So I want these folks to be engaged and know that this is, that it's all on the line right now. But I don't take seriously the MAGA zone of the Republican Party, and they will collapse, as Eddie Izzard says, like a flan in a cupboard as soon as Trump goes away.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we've got to be ready. We've got to be ready and united, pushing for all the stuff we're always pushing. Like the Democratic message there's no big prevailing message because it's never changed. By and large, healthcare is a right. I believe it's a responsibility, but it's just two ways of saying the same fucking thing. Tax breaks for millionaires off the table and billionaires off the table, and helping like the underprivileged, making sure the student loans don't obliterate somebody's earning potential the rest of their fucking life, making housing affordable across the supporting like homeless shelters and that kind of stuff to make sure that people have a way to step up, having mental institutions once again in this country so that we can take people who are too far gone so they can live in dignity for as long as their physical body holds out instead of dying in the fucking street under a piece of cardboard. That's the shit I care about, and there's not a single goddamn Republican that's going to do dick about it ever, not ever. And the whole point is that we have to focus all of our effort on getting them out of office.
Great. I'm all for that. I am absolutely all for that. So it's just the frustration.
Other than that, I have no opinion.
That will continue to have. Well, you never do, and neither do I. The frustration continues to be that reaching the people that need to be reached, and it's frustrating because we don't know where they're getting their information.
I'm on 20 some odd hours a week minimum. I started doing my 5-day a week show probably 3-4 years ago now, and then I started doing a morning show on top of that. I've been doing my radio show. I do my radio show in WCPT for free. Let's be abundantly clear. I've been doing a radio show on a station where they have paid hosts and all that stuff, regular drive time hosts, for 15 years. And I have not taken a dime from WCPT. Why? Because I put my show on there, even when I needed the money. I put that show on the air and kept it going because I wanted to draw attention and advertisers to the station to keep it afloat.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's great. I wish more people cared about radio that way, because maybe I would still be on the radio. I have no idea.
Well, but we all have. You have a mic right in front of you, and you don't know who you're going to reach, and you always, like I said, you always talk as if someone's listening because you don't know the day it's going to land. That's
true. That is true, and that's frustrating also because you want to believe that you're reaching the people you want to be reaching, and you just don't know if you are, unless they respond, unless they show you in some way that they are. Like Olga, who bought my book. Thank you, Olga.
There you go. Yeah, and so I feel obviously very passionate about this part of it, and I feel like this conversation has been hijacked by people who are too stupid to handle the issue itself. Because look, there's a lot of people who are passionate out there, and I will, in the most charitable form I can put it, is that I'm sure you've run into them at the protests. I have. I'm sure you have too. But there are people who are like, I wish I had all your facts and I could talk to this because people argue with me and I don't have all the stuff that I need to say. And those people are lovely and they absolutely have value in that conversation. And to those people, I would say, if you don't have the facts, go with what appeal to empathy and caring, even if they don't want to. Go, look, I care about children. I care about people. I care about health. I care about it. And don't chase them in that argument. Just hold to your ethical emotions and you'll be just fine. You can gather facts later. But there are a bunch of people in the slacktivist class, and they're oftentimes the loudest ones on social media, who know fuck all about the issue, rubber stamp these like, hashtag kind of ideas, and they're again, they're a mile wide and an inch deep in their argument. And if you really ask them, if you really boil, like, there are a bunch of these fuckers, and the TYT crowd is full of them. And I won't go off on a secondary rant about Chink and these fuckers.
Not a fan.
But most of those fuckers, if you sat them down, if you got them drunk and you were asking them questions, they'd side with fucking Thanos in Endgame. They would go like, you know what? We got too many fucking people. That's the problem. They would go straight to the Rand Paul, Trumpian eugenics, too many useless eater shit. They'd sound just like fucking Stephen Miller, but with like a liberal thesaurus. And that's the issue that I have, is that when you don't have the facts and you don't, and your ideology and your feelings are at, there's sort of a bifurcation of those kind of things, you end up, when you're pushed, falling back into kind of your basest element.
Yeah.
Right? And just going, fuck it. Doesn't matter anyways. It's always going to be, like, it didn't matter if Harris was going to be in. This was going to happen to Gaza anyways, right?
No, it was not.
No, it was not.
No,
it was not.
You and Cliff were talking about Gaza while I was, getting ready to come on the show with you. And the story that they're just like, kill all the Palestinians and kill all the kill everybody so we can take over Gaza. It's basically what they're saying. Now Israel voted, we're just going to kill them all and take it over. Literally not what Kamala Harris was going to do.
Nope.
In no way.
In no way. Wouldn't have let them. Ever. There would have been embargoes and sanctions. They would have never even presented it. Like, they know it's like Trump and him made this fucking deal at Mar-a-Lago. Again, zero protesters. We saw them at the DNC. You and I saw the people at the DNC protesting. The old genocide Joe folks. Where the fuck were they when Netanyahu showed up? That's the actual dude. And he was in Florida. It's a short plane ticket. Nothing. Nobody. Not a one.
It's so fucking infuriating, because that tells me you don't care about the issue. You care about the attention you get when you show up to protest. Like, it's all performative. Because if you really cared, you would be rip shit furious that Netanyahu and Trump, both war criminals owned by Putin, have conspired to flatten Gaza and turn it into the Atlantic City of the Middle East, and they don't care who dies as a result. They don't care about children. They don't care about women. They don't care about Jewish bodies, Palestinian bodies. They don't care. They want that land, and they want the money. It is a real estate deal, and the human casualties be damned. They don't care. They care about their bank accounts more than anything, which is so fucking stupid.
Here's what I also present to those very same people. I do not concede your argument, but let's just say I did. Let's just, for the sake of argument, let's say there would be no difference between what Trump is doing and what Harris is doing in terms of Gaza. It's not true, but let's say you're right, and it was always going to happen, and Harris would have come out there and called it a cancer and said, fucking flatten it, move it, said everything Trump said. Let's just assume you're right about that. You wouldn't have also had Kilmar Abrego Garcia being deported, women and children, including a child with cancer, being rounded up, aid being cut to every refugee camp in the entire world by the elimination of USAID programs, the elimination of Alzheimer's, AIDS, cancer research, all the other stuff Trump's doing. It's almost like you forgot that part. It's like, hey, so if you're a one-issue voter, guess what? You also fucked up everywhere else, and you did it because you're a toddler, because you either believe you were so stupid that you didn't see past the end of your fucking nose in this argument, or, and this is more my argument, that you were actually for it, that you just actually wanted this. Because I in this day and age with this much information available, I can't imagine that people looked at Harris's statements on Gaza and looked at and Biden's statements on Gaza and looked at Trump's and went, that's a wash.
Yeah, see, that's
you
just
can't
what's
do
so
it. I don't buy it.
They don't do it. Well, they don't do it, and it's just where they choose to get their media from is indicative of who they are. And so, if they want to listen to Fox News telling them, or the Newsmax telling them, or they want to listen to MSNBC or one of us telling them, that's the frustration, because we know what the truth is, and we know how horrific the truth is.
Right.
And there's nothing you can do to make them admit the truth because they have dug in so deeply, this cult mentality of everything the leader does is good,
Right.
And it circles back to
then we shame them
him.
off and talk to the people that can be reached. And the way you talk to people
And
can
who do you
be
think can
reached,
be reached?
you
Who are
well
they?
you
Who can
well,
be
I mean,
reached now?
look at the Republicans that voted with the Dems about this tariff thing this last night alone, for example. Look at the Republicans that may or may not be on the fence, they may like a bunch of Trump's ideas, but they don't want to vote for the great big bill, right? They're all standing firm on that. That's why it was supposed to be voted on. That bill was supposed to be 2 bills or 1 bill, but it was going to be voted on in fucking February. Like they were like, we got it teed up, boss. We wrote it already. And then it got pushed to Memorial Day. Now it's July 4th. Who the fuck thinks that we're not going to be looking at a CR in fucking September? And what happens when
that's there,
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Look at the bullshit he wants to do on his birthday. Look at this fucking military parade he wants. This ego parade for his birthday. $90 million to feed his ego instead of America's children.
I heard 230.
Like, MAGA should not. Well, and where's that money coming from? By the way,
military budget.
The money for the military
not
budget.
It's coming from notvets.org, right?
Not vets, not supporting our vets. It's the 150th anniversary of the military, right, or the army, right? And then, but it's also his fucking birthday. And it's also Flag Day. It's a confluence of all. So, it's like 2/3 of a good thing we're supposed to be celebrating. But the third thing is what he's going to focus on the most is fucking ego. This fucking ego parade.
Right. But again, we can use that again. But you can also use that against him. Again,
and that's what we should be doing. I know we're over it. It's just like pointing out the hypocrisy to MAGA is useless because they will find any justification.
No, you don't.
There are people
like
I'll pay $10 an egg if it keeps Trump in office. Okay, culty, you're proud of being in a cult and going.
They'll say that on Twitter, but that's not how life is going. And that's what I would also say too is that not only is Twitter a Nazi den.
Oh, they don't say. They don't say it on Twitter. They say it when they get interviewed. Someone goes up to them with a camera at a thing, and it's like, "What do you think about this?" Well, there's nothing he can do that would make me lose my vote. He would never lose my vote. He will never lose my support.
Like at the rallies and that kind of stuff. I agree. Those are the people. Those are also a particular slice, but everywhere else, and this is why Marjorie Taylor Greene said they're going to lose the midterms, is because prices aren't coming down in that regard. And gas is going to crater, but it's going to crater worldwide. So even maggots are going to hide from the fact that it had nothing to do with his policy. He's going to go, our drill baby drill did it. And no, it didn't. OPEC just dropped their wall against production. That's what's going to, they're going to realize that. And like I said, it's going to be the ones that jump ship. They're folks that maybe we could get to be, Obama voters that went to Trump who are fucking lunatics, I don't know, that might go back because they just wouldn't vote for a woman. Let's be honest. But that was what the big dig was.
Woman.
A
white woman or a black woman. No
yeah,
woman.
right.
No
or a white woman. Right. That's what I mean. Like under Hillary, they were like, I'll vote for any dude but no women. Like, a friend of mine had literally a lesbian friend who's like, I'm as progressive. This was a quote. I'm as progressive as they get, but I would never vote for a woman.
That's just the most fucked up shit.
Yeah, right. The cognitive dissonance is amazing. But here's the thing. There are those people. They obviously exist. They're weird. They're hard to reach. They're hard to talk to. But that's our job. Like, that's over time. We've got to inform them and keep them amused and make them like our path more than they like the other path. That's our job, and that's constant gardening. That is.
We got to go to them.
Yeah,
we got to go to them. We got to do our live shows where they are. Let's get on that. Let's get a call.
Yeah, we got.
I want to have those conversations. By the way, I do want to have those conversations with people. Not the trading of insults, not the "fuck you, libturd," argument. I want to truly have a discussion with a Republican and ask them the questions that I consistently ask of elected Republicans that never get answered because they hate the truth. Or whatever their reasons are. But I have legitimate questions that I would love answers to. Only it's my natural curiosity. It's also my job. But I would love to know the why. Why you're doing this and why you do what you do. And I would posit that I can love this country just as much as a Republican can love this country. We just, come from different core belief systems. But at the root of it is we don't want our country to collapse. I would like to believe that. I would like to believe that we share that we want Americans to prosper. and thrive, and this current administration does not. This current administration is taking things away. This current administration is currently deliberately hurting Americans. That is not what our government is supposed to do. And so that's the conversation I would like to have with Republicans. It's like, you're seeing them doing these hurtful things that are going to impact your family. It's your family too.
The shame
what they're
of it
doing is not right. It's not like bird flu doesn't just find Democrats, just like COVID didn't just find Democrats. It's like, that's not how things work. And so he's doing things that are going to hurt all of us, all of America, not just Democrats.
But
that's why I say every time I come on your show, no one should have to die for him. Not the people who voted for him and not the people who didn't. Nobody.
Agree. But that's our burden. That's the Democratic burden, is that we have to care about people who don't care about us. Republicans don't. And Trump is going to, increasingly ratchet up this stuff because of his own ego, or because of his own mistaken ideas, or because of his grudge against the fucking country, and he doesn't care. There's a myriad of reasons. Psychologically, I kind of don't give a fuck. Like, ultimately, his reasoning won't matter. He's insane. I mean, you could literally it's like the show Lost. Everybody was looking for, like, what does that number mean, and what is this like? And I'm like, who gives a fuck? The result is the same, and you're not going to talk him out of it. You're just going to scare him out of it. So that's what we have to get at.
The finale's still going to be disappointing either way.
Well, because they never had a plan in the first place. Let's be abundantly clear. And the same thing is true of MAGA. He does not have an end game. That's why he's vacillating on these tariffs and going back and forth. And he's like, oh, it was always a ploy. Actually, I'm never going to release him. Oh, I'm actually going to do it. Like, because he doesn't know. They're just trying. He's got his finger in the wind. He's a finger in the wind politician, which is exactly what they've decried this whole fucking time. And and they realize over time, and I want everybody to know this, it's not going to work. The amount of damage that he's going to do is something that we will have to rebuild, and that on a state level, we are going to have to take more responsibility for our state leaders in the interim, especially to cover for the damage that's made. Because if FEMA money isn't coming, we're going to have to volunteer if there's an emergency and show up and help people to cover for this during this amount of time. But all of his plans are going to fail. It's going to be brutal. And
that's right. The center won't hold. They have no support. He has no real infrastructure to support any of what he's trying to do.
Intellectually, morally, psychosexually, none of it works.
Correct.
And it's going to fail. So we've got to be there in sort of in a two-parter. And I would argue that most of the Democrats, that people are like, they're not fighting hard enough. Right now, he's stumbling all over himself. And if they stepped in and went, we're fighting them everywhere, he'd go, my economy would be working great if it wasn't for them. Look how loud they are. But if you're standing back going, I don't know, it's his fucking game. It's frustrating to people who want him to do more, but that is an action. That is a strategy.
It is.
That is a way to fight. Because
let him hang himself, and then
it's called a rope-a-dope. If your opponent is punching himself the fuck out, go watch The Rumble in the Jungle. Go watch Muhammad Ali. And watch how people were talking about Muhammad Ali during the rope-a-dope, during that whole period. Because they were all like, fuck, this is over. He's not even trying to fight. I don't even know what the fuck is up. And then, holy shit, right? But
he goes in for the kill.
But he knew he had disadvantages in that circumstance, and he had to play to his advantage. Right now, the Democrats, I would argue, flat out, Democrats, let them fail. Anytime they do something, they're like, we're doing this. Vote against it, but go, you do you, boo. Because...
Hey, I voted against it.
I voted against it. My flag is in the ground. I told you. And then...
Found out.
Right. And by the way, the 5 bills that passed in 100 days, like, most of them were, like, hugely bipartisan, like the Take It Down Act, shit that'd been sitting around. They were just there. You're going to see more of that, by the way. You're going to see them putting up these, like, hugely bipartisan things that have been sitting on the shelf that everybody agrees on, just so he can go, I'm signing a bill, instead of just executive orders. Watch for that in the next couple, all summer fucking long. But the point I'm trying to make is they should sit back and just kind of go like that.
Here's some more rope for you. Here you go.
Right.
Take it. Take all the rope you need.
Not everybody's going to have that strategy. Some people are going to fight directly, like Jasmine Crockett and others. They're going to come directly at it. Others are going to lay back. Some people are going to go, yeah, no, I voted for your guy. However, and they're going to try that strategy with the mid zone of people. You have to have a multi-pronged approach. Like, you can't just like, right now, everybody wants a Hail Mary and they want everybody to go out for a pass. That's what they want.
That's not it.
It's not going to work.
That's not
It's not going to work.
That's not what
Trump's
we do.
Trump is going to eat his own ass nonstop for the next 2 year and a half, year 3/4.
I mean, if he lasts that long.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
He's old and not in good health.
That's right.
So,
anyways, I'm glad we had this discussion. I appreciate you being on the show.
Too.
Yes,
you guys. Hey, don't forget about the Tara Show tomorrow and Thursday at 2 p.m. on the East Coast, 11 a.m. on the West Coast.
That's
and The Sound of Settling, a rock and roll love story, is available right now, paperback, Kindle, and as an Audible at TaraDublinRocks.com. And the thing that triggers MAGA the most is when we succeed. So if you help me make my book a success, that'll just be another in your face to the kids who don't read. And whatever you're doing this week, make sure you are signed up for Hal's Substack, my Substack, the Political Voices Network Substack, and everybody who's on there, because we are the ones telling you the truth, and we're the ones that are going to keep holding shit together as it falls apart all around us. We're going to go out on the road, and we're going to have conversations with people, and we're going to make shit happen. This is why I love starting my week with you, because I can have all kinds of shit in here going, and then I come here and you're like, yeah, but this, and then but this, and then but this, and then we're going to be fine.
Yep.
That's why I'm the luckiest girl, because I get to hang out with you. Later this week, I get to be on Bob Seska's show, and I get to be on with Dino Badella every so often. And we have built a really important, smart coalition of political comedic geniuses who are going to lead us out of the dark times.
That's right.
I'm just proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to be a
glad
part
to
of
have
it.
you
All
on
right,
here.
you guys. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Take care of yourselves. Take
I
care of
adore
each
you.
other, and I'll see you next. See you.
Okay.
See you. Bye.
There she goes, ladies and gentlemen. Tara Dublin, who does indeed rock. You guys can tell that I've had, and by the way, I didn't get to bring in the chat room. And thank you guys for the super chats this morning. I saw them blazing by, but we were keeping the conversation going, and I was a bit on a rant, so I didn't get to reference all of them. I have credits at the end of the show so that everybody can see that you did that, and I thank you so much for your support, and patreon.com/HalSparks, et cetera, et cetera. I'm a radical pragmatist. I suppose in the political spectrum in this regard, because I want to help as many people as can be helped in this moment. And I see a lot of, especially the extremes of the political environment, which are getting smaller and louder, are people to me that it's like when someone's having a heart attack in front of you. Not that and you're like, you're like, I'm going to start compressions. And they're like, no, don't. Why? We have to get a defibrillator first. Do we have one? I think they have one next door. Well, I'm going to start compressions until you get the defibrillator. No, until we have a you do it with a defibrillator. No, you don't. There's other ways to get where you're going. We're trying to save his life. No, we're not. Defibrillator or bust. And then they go next door and they're like, well, actually, we didn't have one, but we ordered one and it will be here in a couple of weeks. And like, the dude's going to be fucking dead, right? That's the problem with the political extremes. The Republicans are having that problem right fucking now, is that they're rushing in with stuff. They're like, I got the defibrillator. And like, those are jumper cables, dum-dum. That's not a defibrillator. And like, well, they're electric and they're wires. Get the fuck away from me, right? They're having that problem. We're having I'm trying to save these lives with what we got right now. And there are a bunch of people going, that's not optimal. Like, I don't give a shit. Optimal isn't an option. That's what I call the retreat to perfection. The Republicans are having a big problem with that one right now too. Is like, look, nobody's perfect. And obviously there's not a perfect thing. And if you're trying to be perfect, we're like, stop bringing up fucking perfect. Like even the mayor, I spoke to the mayor of Chicago and it was a great conversation, but he brought up the phrase, and I needed, and I don't know if you guys saw this at the end of the show when we were kind of running out of time, but I was like throwing in my 2 cents as we were going out the door. I was like, perfection's a road, not a destination. It's you're perfectly moving towards something by keeping yourself on the straight and narrow towards that goal. But there's no perfect solution to anything in the moment. You're just gonna it's a shaky path. It's you're walking a tightrope there's no perfect step. It's always in flux. There's always a rebalancing, and that's important to the discussion. And if you pretend there isn't, you'll fall to your death. And in a lot of cases, this was what I would tack up to my experience with the ACA and people talking about the ACA, and they said 56% of people hate the ACA. Well, yeah, half of them don't want anything like it, and the other half think it doesn't go far enough. Is that the same thing as hating it on the measures? No. There are people who are for something, there are people who are directly against something, and then there are people who are for more of something. That means there's more people in the for more of it and for it zone than there is the people against it. Okay? It was incredibly popular, and it remains incredibly popular because of that. But the perfectionists who are trying to say, like, why don't we have a National Health Service or something? Yeah, we could get there if you keep continuity in your leadership. Obama to Hillary, or Obama, it should have been Obama to Biden to Hillary, and that direction in theory. You would have shepherded through from both the people who fought for the public option in it, in the case of Biden, and Hillary, who'd been working for S-chip back in the day, which is why she got a target on her back. Don't let anybody tell you different. The reason Republicans went after her back in the day from the very start was because this bitch dared to try and give children insurance. That was it. That's why they went after her, and that's why it was like she always had a target on her back because of that. But if you'd had continuity in leadership all throughout that part of it, we would have gotten a public option probably in the calendar year of this year. Calendar year of the middle of what would be Biden's term, that 8 years afterwards. In what would have been, let's say Biden did 8 years. In his second term, we would have done that. We would have had that. And then we would have my plan, which is allow people to buy across state lines into state nonprofits, like the Massachusetts system or the Washington system. And if you could buy into those instead of buying into a regular insurance firm, at least whatever profits there might be would go into making the system better or paying for schools like the lottery or some shit like that. That extra money would go in there. Right. So that continuity of leadership is breaking. That is an act of destruction towards the goal of ultimately getting where you're going. You're basically saying, fuck it, I don't want that after all. Actually, I do. No, I don't. Actually, I don't. No, I don't. And that's how you get Trump trying to repeal the ACA and never being able to do it. Yeah, Washington has a great healthcare system. Shit, I bet you at some point Biden could have struck a deal with Canada where people could buy into the Canadian system on almost a tax for humanity point of view. What do you think that would have been like? Hey, you can buy into the Canadian system, and their insurance will pay for stuff, and you just pay into them as if it was a fee. Who wouldn't do that until it? No one is saying you'd rather have nothing. Yes, they are. You don't like my music. Yes, they are. The entire marching orders of TYT is if we can't get everything, nobody gets anything. Take my ball and go home. There were people actively campaigning against the ACA. I started my career in radio because I was on hold with Stephanie Miller listening to people bullshit about the ACA when they didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. Yes. By the way, if you're trying to primary a corporate Dem, that's what you're saying. Unless you know guaranteed that whoever you're going to replace him with is going to have enough votes, is going to be liked by the community, is going to get in that office, and isn't going to go down in flames, by a narrow margin like the guy who ran against Marjorie Taylor Greene, then yes, you are. Bernie hated it and still doesn't like it. Yeah, well, that was part of the issue. Because it's not optimal. Not an option. And that would be the retreat to perfection. You heard Anna was leaving TYT? Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Do we have to pretend those assholes mean anything they say? Nobody actually thinks they're they're honestly talking. It's like, this is like saying Alex Jones really cares that they're about the government, about government overreach and a secret group that wants to chip people's brains. Really? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you'll bring it up the next time you're at Mar-a-Lago. Please. It's a show. There's always a show. You know, there's a reason. I know I'm going over, but I kind of don't care right now. You know, there's a reason why I make my show sets look silly or fun or slightly curious or whatever. Why I make a space station or a fucking whatever I had. What was the last thing I had in here? Yeah. This is my gold ad, whatever. You know, there's a reason why I make my sets not look like news. Because I don't want to be caught up in the idea and the facade that I'm creating that kind of news. When anybody dresses their set, and this includes TYT and Alex Jones and fucking Newsmax, which is a fucking cartoon, but like any of those folks, anybody who sets their set to look like a real news set, they're manipulating you. I mean, it's the same thing as Mike Lindell wearing his cross. Right? It's a symbol. It's like wearing colors. Yeah. I've been talking to Rob Glenn about making an actual 3D set of this for a long time so I don't have my stupid cutout windows. And it'll get cool but silly still. And by the way, I'm not wearing a space shirt. I'm going to the gym right after this. And this was I have a drawer full of gym shirts. And to make myself go, I like put my gym shirt on before, and it was the one that was at the top. I just wear whatever one comes up. I look like Halpool. Yeah, that's what it is. It's my Deadpool workout shirt. Yeah, anybody who is that goes to this like default nihilism, they're easy to spot. Anybody who goes, what doesn't matter anyways. They're all the same. All right, then okay. Just write that person's conversation off. They're not arguing for anything or against anything. It's just silly. Anyway, you know, anybody who actually thinks that's an argument is playing you, I would argue. I would say that they're either a paid operative, a liar, or they're trying to manipulate you using words they think you will like to get in your pants. So there. Other than that, I have no opinion. I love you guys. I will see you guys this afternoon for the regular show, Hal Sparks, Mega Worldwide. I'm going to do a restart of my computer because I think that crackling thing that I had earlier had to do with like the fact that my computer had been on all weekend while I was gone doing the show. And we'll talk later this afternoon too about the WCPT thing because it was really great talking to the mayor. And I got to say, it's and Natalie Ziemba, bless her heart for being there. It was so lovely to see her. She's on a city council now. It's so great to see somebody go from, you know, talking the talk to walking the walk to stamping the stamp, I guess. Is that what she does? It's just lovely. So I will see you guys this afternoon. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. All right, I know. Oh, is it that thing? Maybe it's over here. I'm pretty sure this. There we go. Hey, Substack. Restack this show if you would. Thanks for subscribing. Just subscribe. Come on. Subscribe. If you're on Twitch and you haven't subscribed in a long time, that's a good time to do it. Thank you guys for doing that. You can share memberships, all that kind of stuff. Look at this. All right. I think those are all Twitch. Did everybody finally remember they have to re-sign up? There's our members. Look at that. Thank you guys so much. And for sharing the memberships, it's a really lovely thing you can do too. It's great stuff. And the members now get to watch the same comedy show at the end of the month that our dear Patreons get. So that's lovely. Nice. We're gonna subscribe. Everybody here. Come on, subscribe. All right. What? Wow. What? Wow. Wow.
Wow.
What?
The biggest loser is the state with the shortest dick.
What?
I like wood.
Wow.
Deeper and longer.
Eat 2 eggs a day.
Oh, look at that. Hype train. If you subscribe, if you have Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost you a dime to subscribe on Twitch. See, it's weird to say that, but it's true. Patreon and the members on YouTube get to watch the show. I'm about to, well, we'll work on that later. I'll talk to you guys later. I have a special thing coming up too, because also the Patreons will get to come to the upcoming John Fugelsang Frangela shows with me as my guests. So that would be free meet and grope for them and tickets +1. That I can do. That I can actually do. All right. Yes. I'll see you guys at 3 o'clock this afternoon.